The story begins with the protagonist, Jerem, being plagued by recurring nightmares of a world devastated by a zombie apocalypse. In these dreams, Jerem is given a mission to eliminate the zombie hordes using his trusty chains. He then started his attack by detonating bombs in the buildings, causing it to fall on the zombies below. He then jumped off the building. And upon landing he immediately killed the zombies around him. Then the horde of zombies noticed him and charged over, but it was easily killed by Jerem's whip-like chain. After a while he cleared the zombies in the area. But is unexpectedly killed by a massive worm-like monster, causing him to wake up from his nightmare in a state of distress. Jerem seeks the help of his psychiatrist, Choi-nae, to make sense of these vivid and terrifying dreams. He recounts that these nightmares have been haunting him for the past 2 years, often involving the death of innocent people and his own demise. This has taken a severe toll on his physical and mental health, prompting him to seek professional counseling, hypnosis, and medication, but to no avail. Choi-nae proposes an unconventional approach to tackle these nightmares. She suggests that Jerem should write down the details of his dreams so that they can work together to figure out a way to confront and overcome his fears in his dreams. In one of his dreams, they decide to venture into a storage room in search of useful weapons to aid their fight against the zombies. Jerem heeded Choi-nae's advice and ventured into a storage room in search of weapons to aid him in his dream world. He stumbled upon a pipe and with it, he successfully killed his first zombie. Surprisingly, Jerem's nightmares began to take a turn for the better from that moment on. However, Choi-nae soon ran out of ideas on how to help Jerem when she asked him if he would continue to journey alone in his 100th dream. Jerem responded with a sense of disillusionment, revealing that humans can be more vicious than zombies and most good people prefer to stay out of trouble. Despite this, he had only seen a handful of people who were willing to risk their lives to help him, even if it was just a dream. Choi-nae was taken aback by Jerem's response and thought the dream must have felt so real, judging by his intense expression. Trying to lighten the mood, she suggested they go for lunch. However, while they were eating, they witnessed a customer suddenly attacked by a staff member who bit his neck. They then saw the world outside being overrun by zombies. As if that wasn't enough, a zombie noticed them and immediately attacked. Jerem managed to hit the zombie with a bowl, but he knew it wouldn't be enough to kill it. He quickly grabbed a mop, broke it, and used the pointed end to stab the zombie in the head. Choi-nae was taken aback and feared that Jerem had committed a murder, but he reassured her that the people they encountered were already zombies and his nightmares had become a reality. The sudden explosion of a gas station solidified Jerem's belief that the zombies would soon overrun the artisan village and eventually, the world. He realized that his 99 nightmares would culminate in the defeat of humankind as the zombies grew stronger. Jerem came across a message that instructed him to kill all the zombies on Earth and he received another quest to safeguard Choi-nae and transport her to his house within 180 minutes, with the reward being the transmission skill. Although nervous, Jerem accepted the challenge and hoped that this would alter the future filled with hopelessness. When Choi-nae saw Jerem pointing at nothing, she inquired about his well-being, but he made an excuse as he was the only one who could see the quest window. He also recalled that he intentionally did not write down in his notes that Choi-nae would turn into a zombie in his dreams. As zombies began to break through the restaurant, Jerem and Nae fled to the storage room. Once they caught their breath, Jerem grabbed a chain and wrapped it around his arms. He told Nae that they would battle the zombies until they arrived at his house. Nae was taken aback as Jerem opened the door, the zombies then rushed towards him. However, Jerem was quick to react and used his chains like a whip to attack the surrounding zombies. Surprisingly, Jerem felt familiar using the chains, which he assumed was due to his prior encounters with the same situation in his dreams. With ease, he killed most of the zombies around him and could easily change the chain's direction by kicking it. However, another group of zombies approached and Jerem realized that they needed to run. After a while, they arrived at Jerem's house and Nae was so exhausted that she fell onto her knees. A message then appeared, indicating that Jerem had completed the quest and received the transmission skill, which would allow him to obtain a skill from an expert. Although confused, Jerem received another message stating that he could learn the transmission skill from someone who favors him. He then used a skill on Nae and received the mental care skill, which allows him to heal someone's spirit. Jerem was pleased with the usefulness of the mental care skill and found it to be very effective. As Nae began to break down from the events they had just encountered, Jerem used a skill to calm her down and it had a positive effect on her outlook. Jerem realized that there were many skilled professionals with a wealth of life experiences. With this in mind, he decided to seek out new skills from these individuals. 6 months ago, Jerem had experienced 10 consecutive nightmares, which had left him looking sickly. At the time, 2 of the village elders, Yung Youngchun, a great wood carpenter, and Park Dalbong, a Joseon heavenly demon martial art master, had given him medicine to help him recover. Jerem was grateful for their help and their kindness had stayed with him. Now, Jerem was determined to save the two elders from the zombie horde. He climbed onto a motorcycle, much to Nay's dismay, and assured her that he would not succumb to the zombies. With her reluctant approval, he set out on his mission. Meanwhile, Elder Youngchun found himself hiding in a room filled with zombies. One of the zombies noticed him and attempted to bite him, but Dalbong arrived just in time and killed it with a powerful punch. More zombies then appeared, but Dalbong was ready to fight. As Jerem raced towards the scene, he was confident that Dalbong, a master of martial arts, would have no trouble handling the common zombies. Jerem was worried because in his dreams the elders had always died. He sped up hoping he would not be too late. Dalbong easily dealt with the zombies just using his fists, as Youngchun praised him and regretted not learning martial arts. Suddenly, a bigger zombie appeared surprising the two elders. The giant zombie picked a common zombie and ate it. Dalbong then attacked using the Joseon martial arts. He landed multiple hits, but the giant zombie shrugged it off and locked hands with Dalbong, who is already struggling, which exacerbated his back problems and caused him to fall on the ground. The giant zombie attacked to finish Dalbong, but Jerem arrived and stopped its attack with his chains. Jerem identified the two variables why the elders always died in his dreams. It was Dalbong's back problem and the giant zombie. He then told the two elders to run, and Youngchun assisted Dalbong away. The giant zombie then attacked Jerem, but he dodged it easily. Dalbong warned him that the giant zombie isn't normal and told him to run, but Jerem assured them and pointed to the motorcycle. The elders were hesitant to leave. Jerem was unsure seeing the number of zombies surrounding him, but a message appeared that a master with a specialty has favored him and a skill can be passed on to him. The zombies then attacked as Jerem used the transmission skill on Dalbong, then he jumped in the air and used the Joseon martial arts technique Joseon Reiner and fell like a meteor crushing the giant zombie and sent the common zombies flying, shocking the two elders. While Jerem smiled as he gained a skill Joseon Heavenly Demon martial art and he had unlocked the first door to the Joseon Heavenly Demon martial art. Dalbong was perplexed at Jerem's ability to wield the powerful Joseon Heavenly martial art. To Jerem's surprise, he acquired a passive skill called Joseon Heavenly Heart Control that granted him a newfound awareness of his body and allowed him to access mana. The experience felt almost like a game and Jerem's movements became lighter and more precise. He was content with his decision to save the elders, but his satisfaction was short-lived. The giant zombie, which Jerem thought was defeated, rose again and attacked him. Jerem quickly evaded the monster's onslaught and ordered the elders to leave and seek refuge at his house where Choinair resided. Though hesitant, the elders eventually followed his instructions and left, cautioning Jerem to be careful. Jerem attacked the giant zombie with his chains, but the monster caught and shattered them in half, enraging Jerem. He responded with a powerful knee to the creature's face and prepared to unleash a brutal attack, covering his fists with his chains. Meanwhile, Nay anxiously awaited Jerem's return and upon hearing the sound of a motorcycle outside, she rushed to open the door. However, she was greeted only by the two elders who had been rescued by Jerem. They explained that Jerem had stayed behind to battle the zombies alone after saving them. Meanwhile, Jerem continued his fight against the giant zombie, landing a powerful kick that knocked it to the ground. Despite this, the monster still stood up and attacked. Jerem charged mana into his fist and dealt a final blow that obliterated the zombie's body. He then noticed a red gem on the zombie's head, which he picked up. A message appeared, indicating that it was a red magic stone that could increase a target's level. As the group watched the news, they learned that the government had declared a national disaster due to the ongoing zombie outbreak. Jerem eventually returned and Nay immediately scolded him for risking his life. The elders were delighted that he had returned safely. Suddenly, a message appeared, indicating that an expert had favored Jerem, making it possible to transmit skills to him. The expert turned out to be Youngchun, and the skill that Jerem could learn was wooden architecture. Jerem used the transmission skill and gained the new ability, allowing him to construct structures and buildings using mana. Dalbong was curious about how Jerem had learned the Heavenly Demon martial art as he had never taught it to him. Jerem explained that it was actually his own skill and proceeded to demonstrate it by using his wooden architecture ability to construct a wall of wooden poles around the house. The group was amazed, especially when Youngchun examined the wood and found it to be incredibly strong and durable, almost like metal. Jerem then revealed that he had actually obtained the skill from Youngchun using the transmission skill. Dalbong suddenly realized that this was why Jerem knew about the Heavenly Demon martial arts. He recalled how he had struggled to find a successor for the martial art as it could only be learned by true geniuses. After many years, his granddaughter had emerged as a natural talent for martial arts and become his successor. But even Hiseo could not match Jerem's overwhelming power. Dalbong was convinced that Jerem was a genius who could save the world and was impressed by his incredible power. However, Jerem's mana was depleted due to the excessive use of skills, and he fell to the ground, triggering a message indicating that he was entering a forced rest mode for mana recovery, and he fainted. He woke up in his room and realized that if his mana reached zero while fighting against zombies, he would be in grave danger. Nae visited him in his room and invited him to join the group for a barbecue outside, where the elders were cooking. Jerem was hesitant because of the zombies, but Youngchun reassured him that the wooden barricade was stronger than steel. The group enjoyed the meal, and Jerem felt that the experience was vastly different from his previous nightmares. He felt as though he was in a healing camp as opposed to being in hell. Meanwhile, the army was struggling to hold back the oncoming wave of zombies, and they urgently requested support, reporting that the zombies were headed towards the artisan village. The next morning, Jerem woke up and saw a message that he had successfully completed a hidden quest to rescue the 3 professors by the first night of the outbreak and was rewarded with the analysis skill, which allowed him to obtain information about a target using his mana. He used the skill on the elders and Nae, obtaining information about their occupation and skills. Looking at the red gemstone, he wondered if it could be used to strengthen items as well. Nae approached him and asked about the gemstone, and Jerem explained that he believed it was some sort of catalyst that could be used to enhance a person or item. He decided to test it out in town, leaving to face the incoming horde of zombies, which he knew was still only the beginning of the real crisis. As he recalled the spider-like zombie from his nightmares, an explosion caught his attention, signaling the proximity of the zombie horde. Meanwhile, the army had formed a blockade on a road, with the officer in charge ordering the capture of the black monster in hopes of receiving a promotion. Upon the arrival of the zombies, the army began firing at the hordes, successfully obliterating them. The officer was content with the outcome until a spider-like zombie leapt out and destroyed one of the tanks. Despite the soldiers' attempts to attack the creature, their guns were ineffective, and even the tank was unable to keep up with the zombie's speed as it toppled additional tanks. The situation grew more dire as more giant and frog-like zombies appeared, causing the soldiers to lose hope. Jerem observed as the soldiers were eradicated, and he realized that the zombies were moving too quickly. He also noticed a discrepancy between his nightmare and reality, as the number of zombie variants had increased to 10 from the previously noted 5, with the spider-like zombie already having appeared. As Jerem made his way, he made a rough estimation of the number of zombies and realized that although the Joseon Reiner was a strong weapon, it consumed too much mana. Wanting to conserve his mana, he came up with a plan to use the fireworks that were supposed to be used for the upcoming festival as a distraction. Upon reaching the boat, he found the fireworks ready and took the remote detonator. Arriving in the town, Jerem used a magic stone to enhance the conductivity of his chains, giving it a special ability called separation. Pleased with the result, he decided to test out this new skill. However, he soon noticed the horde of zombies approaching the town. To buy himself some time, Jerem detonated the fireworks, diverting the zombies' attention. With the horde distracted, Jerem quickly launched his attack. He first killed a giant zombie with ease before facing off against 2 frog-like zombies that attacked him with their tongues. Using his wood construction skill, Jerem blocked their attacks and then whipped the zombies with his chains, dispatching them easily. He then used 3 magic stones from the zombies to enhance his chain. As more zombies surrounded him, Jerem remained calm and focused. Meanwhile, a spider-like zombie had discovered the boat where the fireworks were kept and overturned it. Suddenly, the zombie caught a whiff of something and jumped towards the village. It was there that it saw Jerem, who was smiling confidently as he used another magic stone to further enhance his chain. Jerem's chain had reached its limit in terms of strengthening, so he decided to upgrade it to the Chain of Flames and also give it a special ability called Fireworks. He then activated this ability, causing the chains to be covered in flames. Meanwhile, Sebastian Kim received a letter through his pet bird, which warned him about the zombie infestation in the village and advised him to be cautious. Sebastian was relieved to know that the sender was still alive and well. He couldn't help but think about the members of the conservationist community and hope they were safe too. As Sebastian was lost in thought, he noticed the fireworks going off in the distance and wondered if the zombies had triggered them. At that moment, his pet flying fox named Hanel signaled to him that they should go to the source of the fireworks. Although Sebastian was hesitant at first, he remembered how Hanel had saved his life by warning him about the zombies before and decided to trust the animal's instincts. The spider-like zombie made its move, extending its head towards Jerem, but he managed to dodge and counterattack, pushing the zombie back. The spider zombie then prepared for its next move, which Jerem recognized as the poisonous spider web. Anticipating the attack, Jerem charged his mana and unleashed the power of the fireworks, burning the poisonous web and the spider zombie. The spider zombie's call attracted the other zombies in the area, causing them to surround Jerem. Undaunted, Jerem merged his chains and attacked the zombies around him. The spider zombie attempted to jump on him, but Jerem was quick to dodge and used his chains to wrap around the spider zombie's legs, cutting them off and burning the zombie to ashes. Meanwhile, Sebastian arrived at the village and was surprised to find no zombies in the area. As he pondered this strange development, he noticed an explosion in the distance and headed towards it. There, he saw Jerem standing over the burning remains of the spider zombie and was amazed by the young man's prowess. Jerem explained that he had been fighting off the zombies and inquired about the professor's presence. Sebastian found it hard to believe that Jerem had managed to defeat all of the zombies on his own. Suddenly, Hanel pointed to something falling towards the village and Jerem immediately urged Sebastian to get on his motorcycle so that they could flee the village. As they sped away, Jerem couldn't help but think that he had never seen anything like the falling object, not even in his dreams. The meteor fell onto the ground causing them to crash and found that the ground was covered in a strange purple substance. Jerem quickly used his analysis skills to examine the zombies covered in the substance and discovered that they were incredibly resilient. To his surprise, his usual physical attacks were ineffective against them and they were resistant to fire. Even when he destroyed their body parts, they would regenerate back to their former state. However, he was relieved to learn that the zombies were unable to cross the purple substance. Realizing that they needed to regroup and plan their next move, Jerem decided to take Sebastian to his house. After arriving at Jerem's house, Sebastian was amazed by the wooden barricade that surrounded the property. As they entered the house, they were greeted by the elders. However, Jerem stopped them and informed them about the meteor and the purple substance it left behind. Young Chun expressed his concerns about the survivors and their dwindling food supplies. Sebastian offered a solution to use his crows to deliver food to the survivors, but unfortunately, the crows were still at his own house. Jerem then suggested that they should try to save the crows first, since it would reduce the amount of time needed to rescue the rest of the artisan village experts. However, breaking through the horde of purple zombies seemed impossible. Jerem then turned his attention to the remaining magic stones and decided to give them to the rest of the group to awaken their special abilities, just like him. As the group saw the message to awaken, Jerem explained how the magic stones could be used to awaken and activate their special abilities. The group then utilized the stones, and Dalbong could feel the changes as he tested his increased strength by punching the ground. Although his back problem persisted, he was satisfied with the outcome. Meanwhile, Young Chun used his ability to create a miniature house and figurines, while Ney found that he could see people's emotions and applied her skill mental care to help Jerem with his embarrassment. Jerem then noticed that the artisan village experts didn't have a rank, only an innate skill, and wondered if there was any difference. Sebastian proposed a solution, suggesting they use the sky to travel instead of the dangerous ground. While Young Chun strengthened the walls, Dalbong and Jerem continued their training, with Dalbong giving compliments on Jerem's performance as his disciple. Later, Sebastian arrived with Hanel, and Jerem reflected on the skills he had acquired over the past 2 days. He had learned the Joseon Heavenly Demon martial arts from Dalbong, gained the ability of animal communication, F rank from Sebastian, and received a skill from Hanel called Wingsuit. Jerem used wooden structure skill to the limit to raise them high off the ground. Sebastian then spotted his house. They jumped and used the wingsuit skill as they head over there. While flying they saw the zombies gathering the bodies as the purple substance used the giant zombie corpse and the gathered corpse to create a new variant of zombie. Jerem was worried after seeing this. He wondered if even the stalker zombie will transform too. They landed in Sebastian's house and released the crows while Sebastian used a skill he got from the crows and grew wings on his back. As they left the house the eroded zombies noticed them flying above and attacked by extending their arms like a tentacle. Jerem blocked the attacks as he fell and told Sebastian to continue while he distracts them. As Jerem plummeted, he employed his chains to intercept and sever the zombies' assaults. Upon touching down, he employed the Joseon Reiner to dispatch the zombies. However, his triumph was short-lived when the armored zombie lunged at him with a hammer. Jerem evaded the attack and struck back with his chains, but to no avail. He soon discovered that the previously defeated zombies had reanimated. Seeking refuge, Jerem scaled a nearby building. Meanwhile, the armored zombie had transformed its arm into a cannon, loaded a zombie into it, and blasted the projectile at Jerem. With no means to overcome the zombie's might, Jerem opted to retreat. While resting, he spotted a dwelling unaffected by the purple substance and was intrigued. He resolved to investigate it. Upon reaching the house, Jerem detected a faint melody and speculated that this was the reason the infected land was under control. He soon encountered a visibly anxious man and employed his mental care skill to pacify the individual. Jerem provided the man with food and he identified himself as Ryu Dongtak, a professor of acoustics. Jerem reciprocated the introduction and inquired about the music. Dongtak was astounded because it was a sound that the human ear cannot perceive. He explained that it was a low-frequency sound he had designed and installed, which was responsible for shielding the area. He also offered to give Jerem the sound file. Jerem then contemplated utilizing it against the armored zombie. Meanwhile, Sebastian reached the dwelling and briefed the others on the recent events. Dalbong expressed a desire to assist Jerem, but his comrades convinced him otherwise. Instead, they resolved to keep a watchful eye on the area and dispense provisions to other survivors. Nay pointed out the need for a formidable fighter, prompting Dalbong to suggest his granddaughter. He believed that she had survived and may have already awakened, but she was in a different town. Sebastian then dispatched his crows to search for Yuseo. The crows arrived at Dongtak's house carrying food. Dongtak then inquired if he could join Jerem's team, and Jerem consented. A message popped up, notifying Jerem that he could use the transmit skill. He employed the transmission skill and acquired the acoustic skill, which enabled him to embed sound into objects. Jerem then used the skill to augment his chain's potency, bolstering his confidence to confront the eroded zombies. As they were feeding a cat, Jerem utilized his animal communication skill on it, and a message appeared, informing him that the wingsuit skill had transformed into agile movement. After testing his newfound skills, Jerem surprised Dongtak with his increased speed. When Jerem suggested they leave, Dongtak proposed staying and simply asking for supplies, as he didn't want to burden Jerem by having him escort him through the infected land. Though embarrassed to make the request, Jerem explained that he had plenty of resources due to his nightmares, which had prompted him to purchase numerous survival necessities. Jerem departed and utilized his new skills to dispatch eroded zombies with ease. However, as he continued his killing spree, tentacles suddenly appeared and attacked. Jerem quickly disposed of them and resumed his zombie killing mission. Eventually, the flow of zombies ceased, leaving a multitude of magic stones scattered on the ground. A message popped up indicating that Jerem was the first person to successfully hunt infected zombies and had earned a reward of 10 kilograms of inventory. Jerem felt satisfied as a small bag materialized and collected the magic stones scattered on the ground. As he was collecting them, the armored zombie appeared. Jerem utilized the orange magic stone to upgrade his chain of flames to a chain of blue flame, which bestowed upon him the special ability of the blue flame dragon. Jerem attacked the armored zombie, employing the blue flame dragon, which successfully deflected the zombie's attack and continued to engulf it, causing severe damage. However, the armored zombie counterattacked by spewing a purple substance toward Jerem, which he narrowly dodged. The corrosive effects of the substance were evident as it disintegrated a nearby car. The armored zombie then began to absorb the surrounding purple land, causing a transformation in its appearance. It began to attack Jerem at an astonishing speed, and he had difficulty blocking its attacks. Despite the challenge, Jerem anticipated the rewards that awaited him upon defeating the armored zombie. Unbeknownst to him, a group was observing the fight and they were planning to ambush and rob Jerem. The group's leader was excited at the prospect of the number of magic stones that could potentially be acquired from someone as powerful as Jerem. Upon witnessing Jerem's successful defeat of the armored zombie, the group noticed an additional magic stone beside the red one. Jerem received a notification that he had hunted the world's first mutant zombie, earning him the area proclamation skill. This new ability allowed him to designate a particular area as his residence, granting special effects to his allies within that area. Jerem decided to test this skill upon his return. As the group approached him, Jerem recognized the leader as Slaughter Park Hyunsung and was taken aback. He assumed that they had become stranded in the village due to the meteorite. However, Jerem was aware of Hyunsung's true nature as a psychopathic killer who enjoyed watching others suffer, having seen it in his nightmares. Hyunsung had a good public image as a businessman, but he tortured and executed those who opposed him. Jerem decided to eliminate Hyunsung before he could establish himself in the area. Using his analysis skill, Jerem gathered information on the group and discovered that they acquired their magic stones by killing people. Hyunsung suggested that they join forces and offered to provide Jerem with food in exchange for his assistance. Jerem accepted and they set off to the group's base camp, which was stocked with supplies and sheltered numerous people. However, their journey was interrupted by the sudden appearance of tentacles and eroded zombies. Hyunsung urged the group to proceed to the base camp and Jerem agreed as they fought off the zombies. Hyunsung observed Jerem's combat skills and plotted to attack him when he let his guard down, while Jerem contemplated how to eliminate Hyunsung. Jerem aided the struggling group in fighting off the zombies, with Hyunsung freezing them in place using his fear skill before dispatching them. Finally, they made it to the group's base camp, exhausted from the ordeal. There, Hyunsung introduced himself to Jerem and Jerem reciprocated, asking about the person tied up in the room. Using his analysis skill, Jerem determined that the captive was an ordinary person, surprising Hyunsung with his calmness. Jerem then questioned why they had tied up the man, suggesting it was a waste since he could have been worth a magic stone. Hyunsung laughed, thinking that Jerem was like him, enjoying killing people. However, he revealed that he had intended to kill Jerem as well, but changed his mind after seeing their similarities. He then invited Jerem to join forces to build a better world. Jerem inwardly smiled, pleased that his bait had worked, and shook hands with Hyunsung. As a message appeared announcing that the fear skill could be acquired, Jerem used his transmit skill to obtain it, allowing him to inflict fear on his targets. Hyunsung inquired about Jerem's abilities and was convinced after Jerem mentioned his agile movement. When Hyunsung brought up the topic of flaming chains, Jerem explained that they could enhance their weapons with magical stones and then asked about the rest of the group's skills. Hyunsung responded by stating that the others had none, causing Jerem to question if he was being truthful. Jerem surmised that ordinary people did not acquire skills after awakening, and that was why they had not used any during their encounter with the zombies. Suddenly, they noticed that zombies that could leave the infected area had infiltrated their base. Hyunsung used the fear ability to kill them, and they realized they were now surrounded. Jerem used his wood construction skill to leave the group outside, wishing them luck. Hyunsung was infuriated when he realized he had been tricked by Jerem, especially when the zombies closed in on them. In a fit of rage, Hyunsung attacked, leaving the other two people to be killed. He continued fighting with determination, refusing to die before getting his revenge on Jerem. Despite being restrained by the zombies, he decided to become a monster by consuming one of them. In the meantime, Jerem came to the rescue of a man who was tied up, but the man was initially frightened of him. Using his mental care skill, Jerem was able to calm the man down. The man warned Jerem to flee as the place was a killer's nest and informed him of the presence of dead bodies inside the boxes behind him. Jerem assured the man that he was there to save him and handed him a magic stone. Although initially scared, the man noticed that he could not sense any negative aura emanating from the stone. Jerem also explained that he obtained the stone by killing zombies. The man used the stone and discovered that he had acquired a skill that allowed him to create a dish with special effects. This confirmation of Jerem's assumption that everyone except ordinary people gets a skill during awakening. The man introduced himself as Sung Hammon, and Jerem instructed him to gather groceries before they left. Jerem knew that protecting Hammon would be challenging once they left, so he decided to use the magic stones he had to upgrade his transmit skill. This upgrade increased his mana and allowed him to enhance the skills he obtained through the transmission skill. He also improved his analysis skill, adding the ability to predict the target's movements. After returning with a dish he had made, Hammon offered it to Jerem, who found it delicious and noticed that it increased his stat by 20% for 3 hours. Hammon informed Jerem that the door was blocked, but Jerem suggested using a different path. He proceeded to create a hole in the floor that connected to a drainage system. Suddenly, the wall in front of them was destroyed, and the monster Hyunsung emerged. Excited to see Jerem, Hyunsung immediately used fear, shocking Hammon. Jerem used his mental care skill to calm Hammon down and instructed him to go back to the mart. Jerem then prepared for battle, activating his skills. Hyunsung attacked, but Jerem was able to predict his movements with his skill, dodged the attack and counterattack, sending Hyunsung flying. Hyunsung then used fear again, and Jerem received a message that he could upgrade his fear skill if his apprehension reached 100%. He predicted that Hyunsung was aiming for his back and was able to block the attack and counter with a punch, sending Hyunsung to the ground. The other two heads of Hyunsung were frightened, and Hyunsung proceeded to chop them off and consume them, transforming into a full-fledged monster. Hyunsung used the fear skill, causing Jerem's apprehension to increase to 83%. He then proceeded to charge toward Jerem and attack, but Jerem was able to easily defend against the attacks, causing the apprehension level to reach 100%, which upgraded the fear skill. Jerem used the enhanced fear to his advantage and unleashed a flurry of attacks on Hyunsung, causing him to fall to the ground in terror. Jerem then used his chain to rip off one of Hyunsung's arms, but Hyunsung was able to escape, leaving behind an orange magic stone. After the encounter, Jerem called Hammon and together they went to Dongtak's place, where they were greeted by Dongtak. Jerem explained that he was being pursued by zombies and sought refuge at Dongtak's place. Hammon expressed gratitude, then Jerem saw a message saying the transmission skill can be used. As a result of using the transmission skill, Jerem obtained the cooking skill. He then contemplated whether cocktails could be considered dishes and proceeded to make one that could increase one's stamina for 10 minutes when consumed. Meanwhile, Hyunsung continued to kill and eat zombies with the determination to hunt down Jerem. Suddenly, a powerful monster appeared and suppressed all the zombies in the area, causing them to kneel in reverence. The being then captured the zombies in the area. The being was revealed to be Park Yuseo, the general master of the Joseon Heavenly Martial Arts Dojo. Since her childhood, Yuseo had a strong aversion towards injustice and was compelled to fight against it. She would stand up to bullies and train with her grandfather, driven by her desire to protect everyone. After becoming the master of the dojo at a remarkably young age of 17, she began to propagate her beliefs with great sincerity. Witnessing a student being bullied and beaten up, she saved him and brought him back to the dojo to train. A year later, that same student became a protector, defending others from bullies. As time went on, more and more people joined her cause until the zombie apocalypse occurred. Yuseo and her followers valiantly fought against the zombies, but eventually, exhaustion caught up with her. She was on the verge of being killed by a zombie when one of her followers stepped in and blocked the attack, sacrificing himself to save her. Fueled by her anger, she killed the zombie but was left devastated by the loss of the follower who had thanked her for saving him. Yuseo's group managed to rescue many people, but unfortunately, they also suffered significant losses. One fateful night, a meteor crashed into their dojo, and as her followers protected her, they were infected by a strange purple substance. Despite their efforts to save her, Yuseo too was consumed by the substance, transforming into a monstrous creature that proceeded to devour the captured zombies. Meanwhile, Jerem was puzzled by the sudden cessation of the eroded zombies. Soon, a message appeared announcing the death of Park Hyunsung, and the zombies around the area began to dissolve. An emergency quest was then activated, tasking them to prevent the Queen's perfect transformation within 5 hours, which left Jerem confused. Just then, Sebastian arrived, informing him of Yuseo's transformation into a monster, shocking him. Dalbong then appeared, searching for Yuseo, and upon learning her location, he immediately hurried there. Jerem asked Sebastian to alert the others as he followed Dalbong. When they arrived, they found a cocoon, and Jerem used his analysis skill to discover that it contained a queen seed, which would render Yuseo unable to revert to her human form once it hatched. Jerem realized that they needed to sever the tubes to save Yuseo, but his chains only caused minimal damage. Then, Dalbong instructed Jerem to watch as he utilized a technique that could only be used once. As Dalbong attacked, Jerem used analysis and discovered that it had an effect similar to acoustics. Dalbong's attack was successful, destroying one of the tubes. Jerem then employed acoustics, dealing massive damage to the cocoon and surprising Dalbong. Jerem persisted in his assault and ultimately completed the quest, earning him one opportunity to proclaim an area. However, the victory was short-lived as Yuseo emerged from the destroyed seed and a new quest appeared to subdue the queen. When Yuseo opened her eyes, a warning message prompted Jerem to flee as a purple substance began to spread. Thinking quickly, Jerem urged Dalbong to run to safety and activated the agile movement skill. Despite his efforts, Yuseo managed to catch up and attack him. Jerem tried to use fear, but the opponent's rank was too high and it was nullified. He then attempted to use the blue flame dragon and acoustic skills to attack Yuseo, but they had no effect on her. With a powerful kick, Yuseo sent Jerem flying and crashing into a rock, leaving him injured. Jerem tried to trap Yuseo using the wooden construction skill, but she easily destroyed it. Fleeing to his house, Jerem knew that he still had a chance to turn the situation around. He activated the area proclamation skill, which successfully blocked Yuseo's attacks. After entering the area proclamation, a message appeared, prompting Jerem to choose a combatant. He selected himself, resulting in an increase in his power. However, Yuseo shattered the barrier, and Jerem combined the Joseon Reiner and wooden construction skills to summon a giant wooden foot, which Yuseo was able to stop and shatter. Jerem continued to press the attack, blocking Yuseo's tentacles while using the wooden architecture skill to bind her. He then appeared behind her and landed an attack that pushed her back, but she quickly recovered. Using the analysis skill, Jerem discovered a nucleus in Yuseo's chest that needed to be defeated to subdue the queen. However, Yuseo's Joseon martial arts proved to be a difficult obstacle for Jerem to overcome. He managed to catch her using the wooden architecture skill and slammed her to the ground, decreasing the nucleus's durability. He then followed up with an attack, but Yuseo was able to dodge it. Anticipating Yuseo's next move, Jerem predicted that she would aim for his chest and quickly shifted his body to dodge the attack. Yuseo continued to barrage him with a flurry of attacks, and Jerem struggled to keep up as they traded blows, pushing them both back. Despite the difficulty, they both quickly returned to the clash. Meanwhile, Nei was growing increasingly worried and Dalbong knew that he had to take action. He reflected on his younger days when he was obsessed with martial arts and lived only for himself. He became arrogant and pushed his son away, who he believed had no talent for martial arts. However, one day, he learned about an accident that left Yuseo alone and he struggled to take care of her without any prior experience. Despite this, Yuseo grew up to be a kind-hearted person that made him proud and became his only treasure in the world. As Dalbong prepared to sacrifice his life to save Yuseo, he instructed Youngchun to tell her that he loved her when she regained consciousness. Meanwhile, Jerem continued to struggle in the fight. Yuseo delivered a powerful kick and an attack that he couldn't evade, but just in time, Dalbong arrived and intercepted her, pushing her back with his own attack. Dalbong then urged Jerem to pay attention and learn as he demonstrated the true power of the Joseon heavenly demon martial arts. As he prepared for the final battle of his life, he rushed towards Yuseo and landed a punch that pushed her back. She retaliated with an attack that surrounded Dalbong, but he easily destroyed it and appeared behind her to deliver an axe kick. Yuseo blocked the attack with a barrier, but still crashed to the ground. Dalbong followed up with multiple attacks, trying to destroy the barrier as he reminded her of who she truly was. Eventually, an attack broke through, shattering the barrier. During the intense battle, Dalbong grabbed Yuseo and attacked the nucleus on her chest, but despite their efforts, Yuseo remained standing and summoned a monster to devour Dalbong. However, Dalbong managed to destroy the monster, and Yuseo retaliated by attacking him, pushing him back and delivering multiple blows. Jerem then joined the battle with an attack of his own, but Yuseo effortlessly dodged it. The three of them continued to clash, with Dalbong and Jerem attacking together, but both of them were hit by Yuseo's attacks. As Yuseo prepared to deliver a final blow to Dalbong, he called out to her, causing her to remember her grandfather and stop in her tracks. Yuseo's moment of hesitation gave Dalbong the chance to attack with all his might, damaging the nucleus. Jerem followed up with multiple attacks that shattered the nucleus, successfully completing their quest. However, the battle had taken a toll on Jerem, and he collapsed from exhaustion due to the excessive use of his skills. As he faded into unconsciousness, he caught a glimpse of Dalbong on the ground and received a message processing their reward for their incredible achievement. After regaining consciousness, Jerem discovered that he had been granted a special skill called skill synthesis as a reward for his achievements. This skill allowed him to combine two skills to create a temporary special skill. Nay arrived and informed Jerem that they were in the newly built ward and showed him the changes made to their base through the window. To his surprise, Nay revealed that he had been unconscious for a month. The doctor arrived and referred to Jerem as the leader, explaining that he had saved many people and suffered severe injuries protecting the village. The doctor used his healing skill on Jerem, who was told he would be able to walk again after a week of treatment. The message then appeared that a skill could be transferred. He then used the transmission skill and acquired the medicine skill using the transmission skill. He combined it with acoustics using skill synthesis to create healing sound, which he used as his body recovered. Nay then guided Jerem around their compound, introducing him to the people he had saved and who now looked up to him as their leader. Jerem inquired about Dalbong and Yuseo, and Nay took him to another ward where the two were located. The doctor informed Jerem that Dalbong had severely injured his spine and may never walk again. Meanwhile, Yuseo was still unconscious and they suspected that her mind had been severely affected. Nay then used her skill to bring them into Yuseo's mind, where Jerem witnessed an expert demonstrating their mental care skill. A message then appeared, indicating that Jerem's mental care skill had been upgraded. Nay gestured towards the dark orb, explaining that it represented Yuseo's mind and that her attempt to enter had been unsuccessful. She emphasized the urgency of rescuing Yuseo before her mental state deteriorates further. Jerem utilized mental care and fear to create the skill mental pressure, which he used to shatter the orb and enter Yuseo's mind. Inside, Yuseo was confronting her trauma, manifested as her followers and grandfather. Despite being on the verge of giving up, Jerem arrived and utilized his analysis skill to identify her enemies as her own fears and that she would need to overcome them on her own. He reassured her that it was not her fault and that to view her comrades as monsters would be a disservice to their memory. With this newfound clarity, Yuseo was able to come to terms with her fears and Jerem applied his mental care skill to help her heal. Yuseo apologized and bowed to the apparitions and attacked, shattering her fears and trauma as the images of her followers cheered her on. She then thanked Jerem for helping her and left. She woke up and immediately came to Dalbong's side full of guilt, but Dalbong comforted her. Yuseo apologized to Dalbong and they had a heart-to-heart conversation. Later, Nay gave Yuseo the record of Jerem's nightmares. Nay then approached Jerem and explained that they lacked magic stones as some were used to upgrade the generator's efficiency. Jerem decided to go out and collect magic stones and Yuseo joined him. However, they were confronted by zombies and Yuseo used her martial arts skills to defeat them easily, surprising Jerem. As they explored the area, they found writing on the walls, indicating that S.H.I.E.L.D. had already reached the area. S.H.I.E.L.D. is a group established by the famous actor Lee Sang-chil, who brought together numerous individuals through his reputation and contacts to provide assistance and aid to those in need. However, over time, a social hierarchy began to form and those in positions of power began to exploit their authority and monopolize the resources, resulting in the enslavement of individuals in the lower ranks. In addition, they began conducting experiments on humans. When Yuseo questioned if S.H.I.E.L.D. was composed of bad individuals, Jerem was uncertain and chose to investigate the matter personally. Jerem employed a magical stone to upgrade their motorbike, making it quieter, and then used another magical stone to grant the motorbike stealth capabilities. Utilizing these upgrades, he bypassed the shield blockade unnoticed and arrived at a compound where people had gathered. Kim Hyung-seok, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s propaganda director, expressed gratitude towards their supporters. Jerem utilized his analysis ability on Hyung-seok, who had a mixed creature attribute, causing him to speculate that someone was behind the group. Consequently, he chose to hold off on taking action for the time being. Jerem then informed Yuseo that S.H.I.E.L.D. might be conducting experiments by injecting zombie blood into individuals from the lower class who are weak and ineffective in combat. Jerem suggested that they gather as much information as possible on S.H.I.E.L.D. Meanwhile, members of S.H.I.E.L.D. were attacked by zombies and struggling to fend them off. However, giant zombies appeared and destroyed their formation, while others were captured by frog zombies. Jerem and Yuseo arrived on the scene and began eliminating the zombies, ultimately saving the group. Jerem explained that they had come to the location after seeing a message on the wall regarding S.H.I.E.L.D. When Hyung-seok was informed of the situation, he found the members of S.H.I.E.L.D. to be incompetent. The man continued stating that two powerful awakeners had saved the group. Hyung-seok became cautious, realizing that if the two awakeners were powerful, there would be no need for them to join S.H.I.E.L.D. He then decided to meet with Jerem and Yuseo. Hyung-seok arrived with two men and introduced himself. Jerem utilized his analysis skill and discovered that they were all human magic stone eaters and mixed creatures. Hyung-seok recognized Yuseo as the master of the Joseon martial arts dojo and inquired as to why they had come to S.H.I.E.L.D. Jerem explained that they did not want to lose any more people and had observed S.H.I.E.L.D.'s efforts to save individuals, sharing the same goal. Hyung-seok believed that they could be valuable assets and suggested that they join their vigilante squad, accumulate achievements, and gain entry to paradise. However, Jerem declined, stating that they solely wanted to protect people. Hyung-seok then offered them a spot in Squad 3, but Jerem, after witnessing the skill level of the group they had rescued, believed that he and Yuseo were sufficient and criticized the group as being clumsy. This angered one of the leaders, but Hyung-seok diffused the situation and ultimately agreed to establish a special squad specifically for Jerem and Yuseo. After Jerem and Yuseo departed, the two leaders criticized their attitude and Hyung-seok decided to test their skills. He ordered the leaders to confront them and assess their abilities. Outside, Jerem explained to Yuseo that being a hero would be less suspicious and the fastest way to earn their trust. He advised her to prepare herself as the leaders, accompanied by a group of awakeners, arrived. The leaders demanded that they prove their strength, but Yuseo ridiculed them, claiming that she alone was sufficient to deal with them. This infuriated the group and they attacked her. However, she easily defeated them, shocking the leaders. She dismissed them as weaklings and proclaimed that Jerem was much more powerful than she was. She then challenged the leaders to battle, but they were halted by Hyung-seok, who scolded them for attacking Yuseo. He apologized to Jerem and Yuseo before leaving. Jerem knew Hyung-seok was pretending and called him shameless. Hyung-seok was satisfied and decided to use and take advantage of Jerem and Yuseo. A week after joining S.H.I.E.L.D., Yuseo was training people, while Jerem cooks food. They have blended in through their respective abilities. Jerem met a little girl named Yerem and found a dreamer girl status on her and was certain there is something else about her. Yerem then thanked him for the food as a message appeared that he can receive a skill. He then used the transmission skill and acquired the magical girl skill, which allows him to be able to make dreams come true by using mana confusing Jerem. Hyung-seok was informed that Jerem and Yuseo had captured the people's hearts in a week by giving food to everyone, while Yuseo taught martial arts. Hyung-seok then asked about the power plant and one of the leaders said that it was a dangerous place and they have been keeping an eye on it. Hyung-seok then decided to send Jerem and Yuseo to the power plant to see if they are real heroes or just all talk. Hyung-seok then met with Jerem and Yuseo and thanked them for helping the people. He then asked them for a favor to clear the terrifying monsters living in the power plant and said that all the scouts they sent to the place never returned. Hyung-seok stressed the importance of the power plant to save more people. Jerem accepted and rejected a reward and said to just give it to the other survivors instead. Following the meeting, one of the leaders expressed skepticism regarding Jerem and Yuseo's ability to accomplish their mission. However, Hyung-seok reassured them that regardless of the outcome, there would be no harm done, as they would be simultaneously targeting the large hospital they had been monitoring. Jerem and Yuseo set off towards the power plant, but their arrival was met with resistance from ghouls that used electricity to attack them. Jerem found himself struggling against the electric assaults, but Yuseo intervened by creating a protective barrier. However, even with the barrier, Yuseo was still affected by the ghouls' electrical attacks. Eventually, Jerem had no choice but to utilize his newfound magical girl skill. He used his wand to grant himself electrical resistance and swiftly dispatched the ghouls. Yuseo was dumbfounded seeing this. Another ghoul attempted to strike Jerem with lightning, but it had no effect on him and he quickly eliminated the threat. Iseo expressed curiosity about Jerem's magical girl skill and he explained that it was a form of transformation that all awakeners possessed. He also revealed that this was how he obtained his wand. Iseo inquired if she could transform as well, to which Jerem responded that she could do it if she had performed the required pose earlier. Although hesitant, Iseo attempted the pose, but Jerem simply laughed and admitted that he was joking, which infuriated Iseo. She proceeded to give Jerem a beating and he responded by giving her a lightning resistance buff and administering a healing medicine buff to aid in her recovery. Jerem then produced drinks that would increase their stamina and concentration by 10% for 1 hour. They continued on and encountered more ghouls, which they were able to defeat. Iseo wondered if Jerem could use more magic with his wand, but he explained that he could only use one at a time while transformed. As they progressed further into the area, Jerem grew suspicious that there might be stronger monsters present as none of the scouts had returned. Soon enough, they stumbled upon a giant ghoul that attacked them with an electric beam. Jerem employed his wooden construction skill to block the attack, but they still suffered minor burns to their hair. The giant ghoul charged towards them, but they managed to evade it. Jerem then wrapped his chain around the ghoul's neck while Yuseo delivered a powerful kick to its face. The ghoul fell onto the wooden spikes that Jerem had created. The giant ghoul beckoned the ghouls in the area to attack them. Jerem employed his chain to vanquish the ghouls, while Yuseo landed the final blow on the colossal ghoul. The shield agent who was surveilling them was taken aback and promptly relayed the incident to headquarters. Hyung-seok was content with their performance and planned to use Jerem and Yuseo to aid him in becoming the second in command of S.H.I.E.L.D. Jerem and Yuseo caught up with the agent and invited him to share a meal. Meanwhile, Hyun-seok pondered whether the skills displayed by Jerem and Yuseo were their full capabilities or if they had held back against the giant ghoul, prompting him to wonder if they were even stronger than he originally thought. He inquired about the hospital mission and was informed that it was going smoothly. Hyun-seok believed that if the mission was successful, he could quickly ascend to a higher position in the organization. As one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. teams made their way through the hospital, they received word that Squad 2 had engaged enemies on the 13th floor and required reinforcement. The team leader wasted no time in directing their group to head to the floor in question. Upon arrival, they could hear the voice of the Squad 2 leader. However, as they entered the room, it became apparent that the Squad 2 leader had already succumbed to zombification and was waiting to ambush them. The team found themselves surrounded by the zombified members of Squad 2. The leader ordered a retreat, but their path was blocked by the zombified Squad 2 leader. In a moment of desperation, the leader transformed into a beast, pushing the zombie away. Tentacles then descended from above, ensnaring the rest of the team. Meanwhile, Hyung-seok was concerned. Just then, they heard the voice of the Squad 1 leader announcing a problem and requesting additional awakeners. Hyun-seok responded, promising to send backup immediately. It was then revealed that the Squad 2 leader was already zombified. Upon receiving a distress signal over the radio regarding a problem at the hospital raid, Jerem and Yuseo wasted no time in heading there to offer their assistance. As soon as they arrived, Jerem inquired if the request had come from Hyung-seok, which was confirmed by the individual, and explained that the leader of Squad 1 had sent out a message requesting more awakeners to aid in the operation. Jerem found the request strange and requested to speak with Hyung-seok directly. As soon as Hyung-seok answered, Jerem expressed his doubts regarding the Squad 1 leader's call for backup. He wondered why the squad leader would request weaker awakeners when they themselves were already weak and of no use. He suspected that the message was a trap and that the squad had already been defeated. As Jerem and Yuseo made their way into the hospital, he couldn't help but worry about her safety in case things took a turn for the worse. With this in mind, he decided to give her the orange magic stone so she could increase her strength. While climbing the floors, they were confronted by zombies, but to Jerem's surprise, Yuseo was able to effortlessly dispatch them with her newfound power. Upon reaching the 13th floor, they could hear the voice of the Squad 1 leader. Jerem was certain that it was a trap. Yuseo suggested that if it was indeed a trap, they should destroy the entire place. Using the magical girl skill, Jerem utilized the oil shock ability to douse the room in oil and then set it ablaze. He then used the wooden construction skill to block the exit. After a while, Jerem destroyed the wooden blockage and the remaining monsters emerged. They were able to take down the remaining monsters with ease. After the fire had died down, Jerem and Yuseo discovered an orange magic stone amidst the ashes and concluded that it must have come from the main body of the monster. They then discussed the possibility of there being more monsters that could imitate human voices and appearances, emphasizing the need to be extra cautious. They then left the hospital, carrying the bodies of the two squad leaders. Upon their return, Hyung-seok expressed his gratitude and informed them that he needed to report what had happened to the higher-ups before leaving. Iseo noticed that Hyung-seok's demeanor towards them had changed, and Jerem explained that it was likely due to the fact that he had lost two of his most powerful subordinates. They both realized that this could be an opportunity for them to become their replacements and enter paradise. Shortly after, Hyung-seok returned with news that he had informed the higher-ups of their impressive performance, which had led the commander to express a desire to meet with them. He added that a vehicle would arrive in 2 to 3 days to take them to paradise. Iseo then asked if people are living well in paradise. Hyung-seok explained that not everything is going smooth, but there is no other place in the Republic of Korea that can manage to restore sanctuary as fast as paradise. As they left, Jerem decided to prepare before meeting Lee Sang-chil and upgraded the transmission skill, increasing his mana, and his skeleton has been optimized for combat. Iseo noticed the change in Jerem. A message then appeared to fight Iseo bare-handed until she is 100% satisfied to unlock the Joseon Heavenly Demon Martial Arts Rank D, then Jerem invited Iseo for a match, and she agreed. Iseo attacked and Jerem felt her power, and she delivered an axe kick, causing Jerem to kneel on the floor despite blocking it. He then blocked the following attack, surprising Iseo. Jerem made an attack, but Iseo easily dodged it and landed a palm strike on his body. Iseo attempted to attack again, but Jerem managed to grab both of her hands. Iseo then made an unexpected attack towards Jerem's groin, which Jerem told her was prohibited. Iseo admitted her loss, increasing her satisfaction to 20%. While members of S.H.I.E.L.D. passed by, they saw Iseo and Jerem and assumed they were a couple. As they walked by a group, they overheard people gossiping about them hugging. This surprised Jerem and angered Iseo. Iseo approached the group and explained that it was a misunderstanding. Jerem left to see Jerem, and he gave her a magic stone, telling her that she could become a magical girl if she used it. Jerem used the stone and transformed into a magical girl. Jerem and Iseo found her cute and Jerem demonstrated her skill, causing her to fly. She used magic to give Jerem and Iseo the fly skill. Jerem explained that she had 4 more spells aside from the one she used, which surprised Jerem. Suddenly, a giant zombie emerged, prompting Jerem to summon a golem to engage it in combat. The golem and the zombie exchanged blows, but Jerem quickly buffed the golem's strength, enabling it to overpower and defeat the zombie with ease. Jerem felt relieved, knowing that Jerem was more than capable of protecting herself. Subsequently, Jerem and Iseo departed for paradise, where they were escorted to meet Lee Sang-chil. Upon analyzing him, Jerem noticed Sang-chil's dominator attribute and pondered why he expanded his territory to such an extent, given that he was better at defense than attacking. Jerem surmised that Sang-chil's skill likely gave him benefits from territorial expansion. Sang-chil expressed his admiration for Jerem and Iseo. Meanwhile, a group from S.H.I.E.L.D. was ambushed by a giant snake, which used one of the members to locate the survivors' camp before killing him. The snake then summoned a horde of zombies and giant snakes and headed towards the camp. As Sang-chil prepared to depart, he expressed his enjoyment in conversing with Jerem and Iseo and invited them to visit him at their convenience. Hyung-seok took note of how easily Jerem had gained Sang-chil's trust. Sang-chil instructed Hyung-seok to take care of Jerem and Iseo, and Hyung-seok presented Jerem with a reward from the commander, consisting of several magic stones. Jerem contemplated how useful the stones would be for the villagers. Suddenly, they received word that a massive horde of zombies was approaching the satellite village. In response, Jerem urgently requested a motorbike, aware of the imminent danger facing Jerem. The inhabitants of the satellite village were preparing themselves for the impending zombie horde, and the leader of the village was concerned about the absence of Jerem and Iseo. Jerem stumbled upon the group as they were preparing for battle and offered her assistance, revealing that she was an awakener and possessed skills in transformation and magic. When the horde of zombies finally arrived, the group was stunned to see the arrival of 5 colossal snakes. The leader instructed the group to hold their ground until reinforcements from Paradise arrived. Jerem then transformed and halted the monsters, but the group's attacks were proving to be ineffective against the horde. Jerem conjured up a powerful magical attack that was able to stop the giant snakes. She then summoned a golem and empowered both the golem and the awakeners to continue their assault, which pushed the monsters back momentarily. However, the giant snakes managed to break through their formation, attacking Jerem when she ran out of mana. Jerem and Iseo managed to arrive on time, and they praised Jerem for her bravery. They saw the giant snake and saw similarities with the monster in the hospital. The 5 snakes then merged together and attacked. Jerem used a blue flame dragon to bind the snake, while Iseo delivered an attack that smashed the snake onto the ground. It immediately got up and attacked, but it was unable to deal with the assault of Jerem and Iseo. The snake then exploded and merged with the other zombies and empowered them, but Iseo sliced them with her kick, while Jerem destroyed the group with his chain, shocking the captain. The parts of the giant snake reformed and tried to escape. Jerem and Yuseo chased after it. Hyung-seok's squad arrived and was informed that Squad 3 had pursued the escaping monster. Jerem and Yuseo then arrived and told Hyung-seok that they already took care of the monster, shocking Hyung-seok. Meanwhile, over in Paradise, the Hammer Gang, led by their leader Quack Dupel, had arrived. Dupel utilized his vehicle modification skill to crash through the gates. In the satellite village, people were working on repairing the damage and Jerem lent her strength to buff them, making their job easier. Hyung-seok noticed her efforts and thanked her, to which she revealed that Jerem had instructed her to help out. When Hyung-seok inquired about her awakener status, she explained that Jerem had helped her awaken her abilities. Hyung-seok speculated that Jerem must have known Jerem possessed unique skills. Suddenly, news arrived that the Hammer Gang had attacked Paradise. Iseo asked Jerem about the Hammer Gang, and he explained that they were a notorious group that often appeared in his nightmares. They were known for being extremely violent and unpredictable. Jerem recalled a nightmare where he had protected a group of people from zombies, only for the Hammer Gang to arrive and run over the survivors along with the zombies. When he confronted Dupel about it, Dupel claimed it was necessary to protect his men from potential infection. Hyun-seok informed Jerem and Yuseo about the current situation and urged them to return to Paradise. Jerem and Yuseo took off on their motorbike and soon arrived to find Dupel and Sangchil engaged in combat. Sangchil utilized his raining skill to increase his power and launched an attack, but Dupel managed to block it. Dupel retaliated with a fire attack, but Sangchil defused it with his increased power. Jerem swiftly intervened, halting Dupel's attack on Sangchil and apprehending the Hammer Gang. Sangchil expressed his gratitude to Jerem and Yuseo, and suddenly a message appeared indicating that a skill could be transferred. Jerem then utilized his transmission skill to acquire the raining skill. He was pleased with his newly acquired ability. Sangchil appealed to Dupel to join S.H.I.E.L.D., but Dupel simply responded that they should just kill him. Jerem inquired about the cause of the conflict between the two groups, and Sangchil explained that S.H.I.E.L.D. had encroached on their territory, leading to a battle in which both sides suffered casualties. Sangchil felt obligated to seek retribution and proceed with Dupel's execution. However, Jerem argued that some of the Hammer Gang members possessed valuable skills and it would be a waste to kill them. He proposed a 3-day window to try to persuade Dupel to join S.H.I.E.L.D. instead. Sangchil consented and had the Hammer Gang sent to prison. Jerem then took Yuseo outside to test out his new skill obtained from Sangchil. Upon activating the skill, Jerem was surprised by the amount of mana it consumed, but he noticed a significant increase in his power and punched the ground, startling Yuseo. Jerem pondered how Sangchil was able to utilize the skill, assuming he had used more manpower than him and was likely stronger than Jerem initially thought. Yuseo inquired about Jerem's plan to persuade Dupel, and Jerem replied that they needed to go to the Hammer Gang's base. Jerem told Yuseo that Dupel's granddaughter might have the ability to awaken skills. He remembered sneaking into the Hammer Gang during his 43rd nightmare, where Dupel showed him a picture of his granddaughter, who was a contract genius. They arrived at the Hammer Gang's stronghold and saw Seoryung, who Jerem identified as having the mediator attribute using his analysis skill. He explained to Yuseo that Dupel has a soft spot for her. They approached Seoryung and explained the situation about her grandfather's impending execution. Jerem asked for her help to prevent it and gave her a magic stone. After using the stone, she gained the mediation skill, which allows her to mediate between contractors and insert clauses, including penalty clauses. She used the skill to create a contract with Jerem, stating that he won't tell lies to her, and if he does, Jerem and Yuseo will go back to Paradise immediately. She agreed to work under Jerem for a month, relieving her worries. Jerem then invited her to come back with them to Paradise for the sake of the Hammer Gang, and she agreed, knowing what Jerem needed her for. They met Dupel, who ridiculed them for using her granddaughter as a hostage. Jerem clarified that Seoryung was present to aid them, and Seoryung informed Dupel that she had become an awakener. Using her mediation skill, Seoryung established a contract stipulating that for the next 30 minutes, Jerem would speak only the truth to Dupel. Jerem would yawn twice if he lied, and they both agreed to the terms. Jerem revealed that his objective was to demolish S.H.I.E.L.D. and proposed an alliance, as they shared the same goal. Dupel was skeptical, but Seoryung reminded him of the contract. Dupel inquired about Jerem's intentions, to which he replied that he intended to capture Lee Sangchil and urged Dupel to surrender to S.H.I.E.L.D. for a brief period. Dupel warned that Sangchil was considerably stronger than they anticipated, recalling how Sangchil had defeated him and the Hammer Gang. He only escaped because of the sacrifices of his comrades, and Sangchil had only exhibited a fraction of his strength in their prior encounter. Dupel questioned Jerem's ability to apprehend Sangchil. Jerem admitted that he knew the future and had encouraged Seoryung to awaken because he knows her potential. Dupel asked if it was his skill, but he denied using a skill and claimed to have numerous secrets. He also acknowledged Sangcheol's formidable strength, prompting Dupal to chuckle and inquire about Jerem's name. Once Dupal learned his name, he agreed to their alliance. The message then materialized, indicating that Jerem could transfer two skills: vehicle modification and mediation, which elicited a grin from Jerem. Subsequently, Jerem informed Sangcheol of their successful negotiation with Dupal, earning praise for his efforts. Sangcheol then posed a hypothetical scenario, asking Jerem if he would sacrifice one life to save 10 others. Recognizing it as a test, Jerem replied that he would opt for the sacrifice. Sangcheol chuckled and invited Jerem to join him at a specified location in 3 days, to which Jerem requested to bring Yuseo, citing her trustworthiness. Sangcheol agreed to his request. After 3 days, Jerem unlocked the Joseon Heavenly Demon Martial Arts Rank D. Suddenly, they were summoned by Sangcheol, who wanted to show them something. Upon arrival, Sangcheol announced that he was going to reveal the hope of humanity. Inside, they discovered a group of individuals working on zombies. Sangcheol explained that they were part of the Awakeners research lab and that it was crucial for them to understand zombies in order to prepare for the future. In another room, Jerem recognized a person named Soo Hancheol, who was on his list of killers. Sangcheol then introduced Jerem and Yuseo to Soo Hancheol. Jerem used his analysis ability and noticed the mad scientist attribute, which led him to wonder if Soo Hancheol was the one responsible for creating the creature at the hospital. Sangcheol expressed his desire to show Jerem and Yuseo the new human race, but Hancheol was hesitant. Sangcheol reassured him that they could be trusted, and Hancheol eventually revealed the new human. Jerem utilized his analysis ability and noticed that these individuals were mutated humans. Sangcheol explained that they were his brothers and sisters who had willingly volunteered for the project, and the goal was to combine the power of mutants with human reasoning. Jerem agreed with the plan, but he knew that sacrifices must have been made to achieve this level of success. When he asked about the process, Hancheol explained that a strong vitality was required to overcome rejection, but it was not easily increased. Then, the root appeared, shocking Jerem and Yuseo. Jerem analyzed it and discovered that it was a cell. He inquired about its function, and Sangcheol explained that it was a miracle that could save many by sacrificing a few. They then brought out a criminal who had robbed and killed civilians, and the root devoured him. The root then spat out a bead, which Hancheol referred to as the Stone of Life. It had the ability to increase a human's vitality even more than zombies by consuming it. Sangcheol mentioned that the Stone of Life decreased the likelihood of rejection when mutant blood was injected into a human. Jerem cautioned that they needed to keep this information confidential, as it could be challenging to manage if it became public knowledge. Both Hancheol and Sangcheol were pleased with Jerem's suggestion. Suddenly, a message appeared, indicating that the biotechnology skill could be transferred. Jerem obtained the skill, which allowed him to transplant cells into bodies using mana. He inquired about any potential side effects of the stone, to which Sangcheol replied that there were none. Sangcheol even stated that he had consumed it himself and promised to provide more in the future. Jerem realized that taking down Sangcheol would become more challenging over time and resolved to act immediately. Sangcheol then woke up the new humans and talked to them. Jerem activated his skills and then attacked, killing Sangcheol. Hancheol was swiftly dispatched by Yuseo, while Jerem utilized the mental pressure skill on the new humans, and Yuseo twisted their necks. When Jerem inquired about the recording, Yuseo confirmed that she had captured everything. They then decided to take photographs before departing, with the intention of using them as evidence to convince any survivors. Suddenly, Sangcheol's corpse rose and his head began to regenerate. He demanded to know why they had betrayed him, and Jerem retorted that it was due to his disgusting and greedy nature, and then asked how much of the yellow mineral he had consumed. Sangcheol launched a swift attack using 100 manpower, but Jerem expertly evaded it and retaliated with 100 manpower of his own. Yuseo followed with a kick, which Sangcheol managed to block, but he was ultimately smashed to the ground. Jerem attacked with his chains, but Sangcheol stood up while he regenerates his body. He then used 200 manpower and hit Yuseo, then immediately threw multiple attacks on Jerem, who struggles to block the attacks. SHIELD members then entered the room, but they were killed by Sangcheol and then ate them, which increased his power, and then proceeded to kill the remaining people. Jerem then combined biotechnology and analysis with a magic stone, resulting in a temporary skill, the imitation skill, which allows him to analyze a target's body and imitate their skills. Jerem immediately used it on Sangcheol, and a message then appeared that he can speed up the process if he has the material. Jerem picked up the flesh of Sangcheol, increasing the progress to 21%. He continued to pick up the rest as Sangcheol approached him and attacked, but Jerem dodged and threw an attack. Sangcheol was sent hurtling into a wall as a result of Jerem's attack, but he quickly regenerated his body and used 500 manpower, surprising Jerem. Sangcheil's body then began to undergo a transformation, causing a message to appear that indicated a need for reanalysis due to the significant change in the target. Jerem pondered how much stronger Sangcheil could become. Sangcheil launched an attack, sending Jerem soaring into the air before following up with a devastating blow that sent him crashing to the ground. Sangcheil then picked up Jerem. Yseil intervened with an attack, but it had no effect on him. Sangcheil tossed Jerem aside, but Yseil caught him and he warned her of the danger. Yseil resolved to buy Jerem some time to devise a strategy to defeat Sangcheil. Yseil was well aware of the overwhelming difference in power and speed between herself and Sangcheil, so she assumed a defensive stance. When Sangcheil attacked, Yseil deftly deflected it and counterattacked, sending him reeling. Sangcheil then tried to strike Yseil with his tentacles, but she evaded his attacks with ease. Jerem was astonished to see Yseil holding her own against Sangcheil's 500 manpower. Yseil landed a powerful kick that caused chunks of flesh to fall from Sangcheil's body, which Jerem quickly collected to aid his imitation skill. Despite her valiant efforts, Yseil began to tire, and Sangcheil mocked her as she struggled to continue the fight. Suddenly, Jerem launched a surprise attack that severed Sangcheil's arm, which he promptly used to further enhance his imitation skill. Jerem and Yseil then teamed up to launch a relentless assault on Sangcheil. Jerem delivered a powerful blow that sent Sangcheil hurtling through the air and then grabbed him by the neck. Jerem crushed Sangcheil's neck and his body collapsed to the ground. Yseil asked if it was over, but Jerem wasn't certain yet as the expected message hadn't appeared. He then stomped on Sangcheil's head, causing the message to finally appear, confirming Sangcheil's death and his addition to the blacklist. The analysis rate reached 100% and a message appeared indicating that Jerem's body would begin to evolve. Jerem received the recovery ability, which healed his wounds quickly, much like Sangcheil's recovery ability. Jerem realized that the imitation skill was like a cheat. They noticed that the root had escaped by burrowing through the ground, so they chased after it. However, the tunnel suddenly collapsed, forcing them to turn back. As they were preparing to leave, Jerem noticed something on the wall and smashed it. They discovered a stash of magic stones, and Jerem collected them all, sharing some with Yseil. Jerem upgraded his skills using the stones, and Yseil did the same. Soon after, they ran into Hyung-seok, and Jerem informed him that all of their superiors were dead. Jerem offered Hyung-seok a deal. Become Jerem's subordinate and never betray him, or die. Despite some hesitation, Hyung-seok ultimately agreed to the terms. Jerem then handed over the recordings and instructed Hyung-seok to craft a story from them. Hyung-seok publicly disclosed Sangcheil's actions, played the recordings and presented their experiments. Afterwards, he introduced Jerem, who announced that S.H.I.E.L.D. was over and recommended relocating to a new paradise. As the Hammer Gang arrived to transport the people, a message appeared indicating that Jerem's authority and manpower had increased, causing him to smile with satisfaction. Meanwhile, Han Won-wook from the National Intelligence Service was monitoring the location and discovered Sangcheil's death. Upon receiving Duple's help, Jerem expressed his gratitude and Duple replied by highlighting how people would trust and rely on Jerem's abilities. Duple then requested to be their boss and lead them, to which Jerem agreed and shook hands with him. The people from Paradise arrived at Jerem's base, while Yseil and Jerem were both surprised by the transformation. Nay arrived and guided them to explore the new departments. Upon visiting the security headquarters, they saw that Dalbong was training people, and Yseil was delighted to see her grandfather. Jerem informed Dalbong that more people would be coming to train, and Dalbong agreed to train them. While Jerem and Nay continued on, Yseil decided to stay with Dalbong. They visited the Scouts department, which was led by Sebastian, and then moved on to the Ministry of Construction, where they met Youngchun. They were then informed that representatives from the National Intelligence Service, NIS, had arrived. Won-wook approached Jerem and requested to speak with him about something important. Jerem utilized his analysis ability and discovered that Won-wook was an awakener. During their conversation, Won-wook asked Jerem if he trusts the government. Jerem replied that he cannot say good things about them since they abandoned the people and moved to Jeju Island when the zombie crisis began. Won-wook agreed and added that the upper class had abandoned the people to survive and had become obsessed with religious cults. He then asked Jerem if he had heard of the Immortal Cult, a zombie-worshipping cult. Jerem was shocked to learn that the government was involved with them and asked if their leader's name was Choi Myung-oh. Won-wook confirmed this and showed Jerem a picture of Choi Myung-oh, explaining that he was an awakener who possessed an exclusive skill that could control zombies. On the 30th day of the zombie incident in Jeollado, people were fleeing from the hordes of zombies when they encountered Myung-oh. He managed to stop the zombies and announced that the faithful ones would be blessed by God. The group of people then worshipped him. Won-wook went on to reveal that the entire Jeollado had fallen into the hands of the Immortal Cult within just a month, which shocked the president. Won-wook recalled warning the president against associating with the cult, but the president had scolded him and ordered them to head to Jeju Island and utilize the cult services. As a result, the government had become a pawn of the cult. Won-wook then disclosed that the cult leader had given them drugs and he presented the substance to Jerem. Upon analyzing it, Jerem noticed its similarity to the root that they had previously encountered. He began to speculate if manhwa was somehow related to the root. Won-wook revealed that the government in Jeju had now become the immortal cult's headquarters. When Jerem suggested that the cult could become a force for good by saving people and dealing with the inept government, Won-wook disagreed. He argued that the cult would merely use the people to create more drugs. Jerem was surprised and asked how Won-wook knew this, to which Won-wook replied that he had used his clairvoyant skill to gain insight into the cult's activities. Won-wook then implored Jerem to help them stop the immortal cult, even though Jeolla province was far away. He explained that he was not asking for immediate assistance, but rather for Jerem's help in the future. Jerem asked what he stood to gain by helping them, and Won-wook offered intriguing information that piqued Jerem's curiosity. Won-wook revealed that they needed to find a solution to the food shortage, and he told Jerem about an awakener with food-related abilities located in Inge County. He added that only a few people in the military knew about this person's existence, as they were hiding the existence of skill awakeners. Won-wook also assured Jerem that it would be acceptable for him to take down the military unit responsible for this, as they were notorious for their evil deeds. Won-wook offered to share additional information as a gesture of trust and inquired if Jerem was aware of the situation in Gyeonggi province. Jerem acknowledged having some knowledge and heard that Seoul was in a precarious state and could become even more dangerous due to its proximity. Won-wook then mentioned a group of individuals who enjoyed battling in this perilous environment, referring to themselves as gamers. Among them was a man nicknamed Hercules, who was known for his incredible strength. Jerem asked if Won-wook had attempted to approach them, but Won-wook explained that their motivations were the religious cult and that they were not open to communication. Despite this, Jerem agreed to assist Won-wook. Before parting ways, Won-wook requested another favor from Jerem once they were outside. As they left, one of Won-wook's associates asked what they had discussed, and Won-wook informed him that he had asked Jerem to join the government, assuring him that everything was being done in the best interests of the government. Upon receiving information about the military camp in Inge, Jerem decided to take immediate action and deal with the military there first. Yuseo expressed concern about the tanks, but Jerem assured her that it will be useless if they can't hit them. They set off for Inge County and were spotted by guards upon arrival. The guards attempted to stop them, but Jerem easily subdued them with a shout imbued with mana, causing the soldiers to surrender as Jerem and Yuseo continued on. As they approached the soldiers and tanks blocking their path, the leader was surprised to see only 2 people and demanded that Jerem and Yuseo surrender and follow him. Jerem then used his mana to call out all the officers' names and threatened to kill them all. The general ordered his soldiers to fire, but their attacks were ineffective against Jerem and Yuseo. Yuseo climbed onto one of the tanks and severed the cannon, while Jerem destroyed the other tank and grabbed the general by the neck. Despite the general's attempts to fight back with his gun, Jerem quickly snapped his neck and the soldiers subsequently surrendered. Jerem inquired about the awakener from the soldiers in the camp and they assumed it was the person trapped there. They recounted a story from 2 months prior when the general had requested the awakener's help in dealing with a hunger crisis. The awakener agreed to assist but soon discovered that the general was withholding some of the food from the people. The awakener attempted to leave but was subsequently captured by the soldiers. Jerem then located the awakener and found him surrounded by fruits and vegetables. Using his analysis skill, Jerem determined that the man was a farmer. Jerem introduced himself and informed the farmer that he had already taken care of the general. The farmer was visibly relieved and a message appeared indicating that Jerem could acquire the skill of food cultivation, which allowed plants to grow using mana. Jerem then asked the farmer for his assistance, but the farmer was hesitant due to his past mistreatment at the hands of the general. Jerem suggested that the farmer visit their village and that he could leave anytime if he didn't feel comfortable. The Hammer gang arrived and Jerem assigned them the task of transportation. Dupel then requested a favor and pointed to one of the tanks, expressing a desire to remodel it. Jerem granted permission and Dupel used his skills to attach the tank parts to his truck. The other members of the Hammer gang became envious and pleaded with Jerem to allow them to remodel their vehicles as well. Jerem saw this as an opportunity to help everyone grow stronger, which made Dupel laugh. After completing their task, Jerem and the Hammer gang returned to the village where the farmer was pleased with what he saw. The people greeted Jerem warmly and the farmer decided to stay and assist with crop cultivation. Nay approached Jerem to discuss naming the village and together they settled on the name Humanity Unite. Jerem then sought to enhance his skills by learning from various masters in areas such as wooden construction, animal communication, mental care, cooking, acoustics, magical girl, and medicine. After a week, he successfully upgraded all of his skills and celebrated. During their meeting, Nay informed Jerem about new awakeners, including a blacksmith, designer, and thief, and showed him the items they had created, a knife and clothing. Jerem was surprised to learn that these items were made without magic stones and could produce F-class items as long as they had mana. He considered equipping their guards with these items and even thought about building an underground city with the help of the skilled digger among the awakeners. Later, Jerem received a report about the location of the giant worm he had encountered in his 99th nightmare. Nay expressed her concerns and asked Jerem if he planned to take over the area. Jerem responded by saying they should aim for a larger city and showed her pictures of the evolved zombies, prompting him to call for a meeting with the leaders. During the meeting, Jerem informed everyone that they were going to take over Chuncheon and asked Sebastian about their spies in the area, who reported that they hadn't found the monster Jerem had mentioned. However, Nay reassured Jerem that they already had weapons and armor for the members and it would only take a day to prepare. Jerem decided to attack the next day. After the meeting, Jerem was notified that the production department was looking for him with something to give him. When he arrived, he met the blacksmith and designer who informed him they were going to make clothes and a weapon for him. The blacksmith requested Jerem's weapon and promised to return it to him before the attack. Meanwhile, the designer took Jerem's measurements and promised to have his new outfit ready by the following day. The following day, the blacksmith and designer arrived with Jerem's new clothes and weapon. Upon analyzing the items, Jerem was surprised to find that the clothes were of D-grade quality and that the chains had a new ability called Great Explosion. Satisfied with his new gear, Jerem and his group made their way to Chuncheon, where they were immediately surrounded by zombies and mutant zombies. Jerem rallied the troops and put his new chains to the test, instantly killing a large number of zombies. The mutant zombies then attacked, but Jerem charged forward and activated the set effects of his equipment, using 700 manpower to instantly kill the elephant zombie. He was surprised to find that he could easily defeat a variant with green magic stones and attributed his success to his new equipment. Jerem then used the explosion skill, which took out most of the zombies, followed by artillery fire from the hammer gang that decimated the rest of the horde. Meanwhile, Dupel killed a mutant zombie and Yuseo stopped another with her kick while the other awakeners dealt with the remaining monsters. Jerem was impressed by the performance of his troops and they eventually cleared the area of monsters, only sustaining minor injuries. After the battle, Jerem ordered his troops to rest while he used his wooden construction skill to create a barrier and tended to the injured. Once they had rested, they continued on their way further into the city, where they eventually encountered the giant worm that Jerem had been searching for. However, their attention was quickly drawn to the root that had escaped from the laboratory that had multiplied itself was attacking the worm. In the ensuing battle, the worm was killed and dropped a blue magic stone. The root then attacked Jerem, but he easily fended them off. The root then tried to escape, then Jerem used 700 manpower to destroy the area. He then captured the remaining roots using the wooden construction skill, intending to get information from them. Jerem and his troop continued forward while killing monsters on their way, while also using magic stones to increase their powers, and also rescuing and feeding the survivors. They occupied Chuncheon and moved the survivors to the Union. Jerem was then informed that the scouts no longer see any zombies in Chuncheon. He then ordered that they will continue to Gangwon province to save the people there. The forces were divided and advanced in all directions. It was a never-ending battle experience, and because of the abundant source of magic stones, the guards quickly grew stronger. Having made significant progress, Jerem and his team had cleared out much of the province and arrived in the final location, Samcheok City. After a while, news reached Jerem that the remaining survivors in the area had joined forces with them and that the city was now free of zombies. They promptly occupied the area and Jerem promised his team a celebratory feast upon their return. Soon after, a message appeared, lauding Jerem's remarkable achievements and rewarding him with 2 benefits. Firstly, he was given the freedom to organize the territory of the Humanity Union within the province of Gangwon, as he saw fit. Secondly, he was granted the choice and concentration skill. As the people of Humanity Union Square celebrated, Jerem watched over them. Nay approached him, wondering why he hadn't joined in the festivities. Jerem was pondering the choice and concentration skill he had just acquired. This skill allowed him to enhance 3 of his skills for 3 hours, elevating their rank by 1. However, the remaining skills would be unavailable until the activation period ended. After some thought, Jerem decided to select the Joseon Heavenly Demon Martial Art, Acoustics, and Raining skills for enhancement. The duration and cooldown for each were identical, providing him with the freedom to improve 3 of his skills every 3 hours. Jerem then inquired about the root. Nay informed him that researchers had analyzed it carefully, but they had not obtained a significant amount of information. She went on to suggest that the root was from the spiritual world, which took Jerem by surprise. He couldn't help but think of Yuseo's spirit. Nay also mentioned that she could do more things due to her magic stone enhanced abilities, even speculating that it might be possible to read the memories of cells. However, she warned that it could be dangerous as experiencing the memories of a powerful creature could result in shock. Jerem was cautious, considering that a single cell had easily killed a giant worm, leading him to suspect that the cell's owner was a top-tier variant. To prepare for the potential threat, Jerem decided to investigate further. Nay used her skills to delve into the cell's memories, where they discovered a massive monster. Jerem speculated whether this was the creature's primary form. Suddenly, the monster spotted them, and Jerem was jolted by a shock. Nay was perplexed as they were still inside the creature's memories and wondered how it was able to recognize them. They attempted to exit the memory but failed. A message appeared, informing them that they needed to escape the monster and it would take some time to increase their progress. The monster drew closer and they then successfully exited the memory. Nay concluded that the monster they encountered was not from Earth and that its extraordinary abilities demonstrated its immense strength. Jerem realized that he needed to improve his abilities as quickly as possible. They discussed the reward for conquering Gangwon-do province and Nay understood that expanding their territory could weaken the benefits. Jerem proposed constructing an underground city, taking advantage of the Grave Thief Awakener's abilities. Nay acknowledged the feasibility of the plan but cautioned about the potential for a collapse. Jerem countered that they could strengthen the city's materials with magic stones and devised a strategy to obtain the necessary stones for the project. He explained that there are many people with magic stones in Gyeonggi-do, the Gamers Union. Jerem proceeded to designate an area where people could receive benefits, particularly for the production class to improve their skills and productivity. He was pleased with this decision since they could sell the improved products right away. Jerem and Yuseo arrived in the Gamers Union territory but were blocked by the Union's Awakeners. Using his analysis ability, Jerem determined that one of them was a D-grade Awakener. He identified himself as the commander of the Humanity Union and requested a meeting with Mukshil to discuss business. However, the man ridiculed them. Jerem then displayed the items they had for sale, which surprised the group who considered stealing from them. Jerem looked at Yuseo and instructed her not to kill them. Yuseo launched an attack. Later, the Awakener met with Mukshil and introduced Jerem and Yuseo. Upon analyzing Mukshil, Jerem discovered that he was a C-grade Awakener with skills, as their energies clashed. Mukshil was impressed with Jerem's ability to withstand his energy and understood why his men were defeated. He apologized for his people's behavior. Jerem then revealed the items that he wanted to sell, and Mukshil inquired if they were made with magic stones. Jerem explained that the items were created by Awakeners with life-related skills. Mukshil expressed interest in the items and asked about the price. Jerem replied that the dishes were priced at 3 magic stones each, while the clothes and weapons were more expensive. Mukshil found the prices to be high, but Jerem decided to offer him a discount in exchange for an unbreakable alliance. Afterward, Jerem inquired if they had heard about the immortal cult. Mukshil responded that some government officials had informed him about them. Jerem clarified that the immortal cult was more than just a cult as there was a potent black magic behind their actions. He proceeded to inform Mukshil about the cell creature, the drugs utilized by the immortal cult, the extent of their influence within the government and the dark magic behind it all. Mukshil comprehended the gravity of the situation and stated that Jerem needed to prove his worthiness as an ally. They then left to engage in a match. The members of the Gamers Union were brimming with excitement and confidence in Mukshil's abilities. Jerem had decided to go all out from the very beginning and activated his choice and concentration skills, combining them with Joseon martial arts and the reigning skill to create the Overlord skill. Yuseo was taken aback by the skill as it was the first time she had seen it in action. In response, Mukshil used his body enlargement skill to increase his strength and weight before initiating his attack, smashing his weapon down upon Jerem. However, Jerem effortlessly caught the weapon with his bare hands. Mukshil was caught surprised and attacked several times, but Jerem appeared unexpectedly from behind and swiftly attacked, causing Mukshil to fall to the ground. The two engaged in a fierce battle, and eventually, Mukshil regained consciousness, with injuries. Jerem approached him, his face swollen from the fight. Mukshil laughed and accepted the offered alliance, while Jerem used his medicine skill to heal their wounds. Meanwhile, Hyungseok established a store to sell their merchandise and Jerem was updated on their sales figures. He ordered a 10% bonus in magic stones to be distributed among the production experts. Just as he was informed, Sebastian arrived with news that his animals had spotted robots in Chungcheongdo. Jerem suspected that this was connected to skills and saw the opportunity to recruit the individual behind it. He imagined the possibility of mechanizing the underground fortifications, effectively turning the entire human union into a moving fortress. Jerem and Yuseo set out to the location and discovered the robots. Upon analyzing them, Jerem confirmed that they were created using a skill. As they approached, the robots issued a warning, stating that the area was off-limits and that they would attack if Jerem and Yuseo continued. Jerem raised his hands in a gesture of goodwill and expressed his desire to speak with the robot's master. A robot named Wilson appeared, displaying remarkable artificial intelligence, and led Jerem and Yuseo inside as more robots surrounded them. Through camera, the owner of the robot spoke to them and inquired about their intentions. Jerem confessed his plan to recruit the individual responsible for creating the robots, which prompted the owner to question if they were affiliated with the immortal cult, catching Jerem off guard. He clarified that they were from the Humanity Union in Gangwon-do. The owner seemed convinced, but questioned why would she join them when she had food and robots as companions, and the location served as her fortress. She questioned what they could offer that she did not already possess. Jerem responded that he could provide Russia with more interesting research projects and revealed their plans to transform a city into a moving fortress. However, he warned that being trapped inside the factory could lead to accidents, which angered Russia and prompted the robots to prepare for an attack. Yuseo hoped to resolve the situation through communication and released her energy, surprising Wilson and stopping the owner from attacking. Wilson then informed the owner that they had a 100% chance of losing the battle, which surprised her. Jerem intervened and insisted on speaking with her in person. Eventually, she emerged and Jerem discovered that she was a mechanical engineer named Rasha Korkowski, who was terrified of them. Jerem used mental care to calm her down and she explained how she ended up in Korea. She stated that she came to Korea to study and ended up getting trapped in the factory due to the zombie outbreak. Jerem then noticed her stock of instant meals and commented that while she was in a sufficient environment, people could not live without civilization. Rasha then asked if the photo he had shown earlier was real and he showed her more videos, which surprised her. He continued by informing her that the Moving Fortress project was 100% genuine and asked if she could create a robot with exceptional intelligence like Wilson. Rasha replied that Wilson was created by chance and she had attempted to recreate something similar multiple times, but she had failed. She added that it would be challenging to create a robot like Wilson at the moment. Jerem inquired about the immortal cult and Wilson showed them a video of the members of the cult arriving and asking Rasha to join them. They gave her time to decide while warning her of divine punishment if she refused. Jerem assured Rasha that they would protect her. Wilson then asked if they had preserved foods and Jerem informed her that they had special dishes made by a chef as well as vegetables, which shocked Rasha. He also mentioned that they had an awakener with farming-related skills. Wilson informed Rasha that this was her opportunity to eat fresh vegetables instead of canned tuna and instant rice. After some thought, Rasha agreed to join Jerem. However, when they exited, they were blocked by members of the immortal cult. Jerem used his analysis skills and found that the group consisted of zombies as the leader threatened them. Jerem instructed them to leave. However, the group's leader ordered an attack, prompting Jerem to inform Yuseo that they were dealing with zombies and thus it was acceptable to take them down. Yuseo heeded the advice and launched a deadly assault, taking out multiple members of the cult. Meanwhile, Wilson also joined the fray, dispatching the enemy forces. The leader then proceeded with a sacrificial ceremony, which caught Jerem's attention since he recognized the characters similar to the root. As the ceremony unfolded, the cult members were absorbed into the sacrifice, allowing the leader to absorb the collected energy and transform into a monstrous entity. The monster launched an attack, but Yuseo managed to hold it back with her own attack. The monster then pulled out its spine and used it as a weapon to strike Yuseo, but she easily evaded the attack and delivered a powerful kick, followed by a flurry of blows. Despite her efforts, the monster remained alive. Yuseo ultimately finished it off by stomping on its head. Jerem resolved to notify the Gamers Union of the recent events. They arrived home and Raksha expressed her satisfaction with the accommodations and food, but Wilson warned her that she needed to prove her usefulness. Agreeing to help Jerem, he informed Mukchil about the monsters that were masquerading as humans and the presence of the immortal cult in Cheongcheong. They decided to launch a joint attack against both factions, using their collective strengths to overcome the opposition. At the same time, within the immortal cult temple, Myongo was in prayer and summoned his minions. He informed them that their god had revealed to him that an agent of evil had disrupted their plans. One of the members suggested immediate action to eliminate the threat, but Myongo intervened and asked if their armies were prepared. The members confirmed that they had trained 10,000 soldiers, prompting Myongo to order them to prepare for battle. Sebastian relayed to Jerem that the immortal cult army had already arrived in Cheongcheong, numbering approximately 7,000 troops. Sebastian also revealed that the cult had launched coordinated attacks in 4 different directions, with each group being led by a squad leader. Jerem was certain that if the 7,000 troops were the same zombies they had encountered earlier, Cheongcheong would be in grave danger. Jerem immediately shared the news with Mukshil, and they agreed that the Gamers Union would attack from the west, while the Humanity Union would strike from the east. Jerem and his army quickly departed for Chungcheong. Upon arriving in Chungcheong, Jerem's army engaged the Immortal Cult in battle. Meanwhile, one of the Immortal Cult squad leaders, Han Neun, was informed that they needed more time to deal with the defenders guarding the mountains. Dissatisfied with the delay, Han Neun used her magic to choke the messenger before deciding to take matters into her own hands. She summoned a powerful tornado that swept through the Humanity Union members, who attempted to fight back with their guns. However, their attacks were no match for Han Neun's magic, which sent the bullets back towards them, destroying the group. One of the soldiers attacked Han Neun, but he was immediately caught and controlled, forcing him to attack and kill his fellow soldiers, while shouting for the rest to retreat. The Union members were overwhelmed, and they were forced to retreat from the battlefield. As her followers apologized for the delay, Han Neun found it hard to believe that they were having difficulties dealing with their enemies. Suddenly, her followers were hit by artillery fire from the Humanity Union, and the soldiers advanced, attacking the Immortal Cult. Neun retaliated with a powerful tornado, but Jerem appeared and blocked it. Jerem used his analysis skills and discovered that Neun was a new mutant with telekinetic powers, making him cautious. When Jerem asked if she was an archbishop, Neun confirmed it and tried to recruit him into the cult. However, Jerem did not reply, which angered her. She attempted to bind Jerem with her powers, but Jerem used his skills to disperse her powers and attacked, destroying her arms. Despite this, her arms instantly regenerated and she continued to attack, but Jerem easily fended off her assaults and grabbed her by the neck. Although she tried to retaliate, her efforts were ineffective and Jerem snapped her neck. Knowing that Han Neun was still alive, Jerem launched another attack and destroyed her body. However, she began using the sacrificial ceremony to absorb the nearby cult members, and Jerem was forced to back away as Neun transformed, sprouting wings like a butterfly. Undeterred, Jerem activated his choice and concentration skill and merged the Joseon Heavenly Demon martial art and the Reigning skill, which granted him a new ability called King's Body. Neun then attempted to slice Jerem into pieces, but he caught her whip and taunted her before slamming her to the ground. Neun was surprised at how a mere human could match her power. She then used the bodies of the cult members to create monsters and hurled objects at Jerem, but he remained unimpressed. Jerem countered by attacking and completely obliterating the zombies and Neun as she fell to the ground. Despite being disfigured, Neun still stood up and attacked. However, Jerem managed to dodge her attack and stabbed her in the back, using his mana to destroy her body. They then received news from Mukshil's side, and Jerem was confident that with Mukshil's skill, he could take on an archbishop. They moved to the next area, while an archbishop received news of Neun's death and ordered a retreat, but Mukshil arrived and overwhelmed the archbishop, with the Gamers Union attacking the cult members. As they continued on their mission, Jerem was informed of an archbishop nearby who had abandoned his men and was on the run. Jerem sped up to catch him, and upon catching up, used explosion to destroy the archbishop's vehicle. Isao killed a cult member, and the archbishop, upon seeing Jerem, asked if he was responsible for Neun's death. Jerem confirmed and the archbishop appeared behind him, but Jerem easily saw through the attack and hit him, pushing him back. The bishop used ceremony and absorbed the cult members, transforming into an armored knight and intending to kill Jerem, but Jerem mocked him and was able to dodge his attacks, ultimately hitting him and sending him to the ground. The archbishop was surprised at Jerem's speed and attacked again, but Jerem used the second form of the Joseon Heavenly Demon martial art to nullify the attack and continued to destroy the archbishop until only his skeleton remained. Jerem then destroyed the skeleton as well. Jerem and Mukshil met and decided to continue their mission to destroy the immortal cult. Raksha's robots and Wilson were easily defeating the cult members, while Dupal praised them. One of the cult members transformed, but Wilson also transformed and teamed up with Dupal to stop the monster. Myongo was informed about the situation and became furious upon learning that most of their armies were killed and 3 archbishops had died. Another piece of information came in that 2 unions had started attacking Kying Sangdo and 10 bishops had already fallen. Lionho ordered a ceremony to be performed and headed to another room and began chanting. Meanwhile, Jerem arrived at the penance room where the kidnapped people were being held. He used his analysis skill and discovered that the room was absorbing people's life force, which made him wonder if it was connected to the root. Jerem took out the guards and went inside, where the cult members were choosing a prisoner to turn into a leader like themselves, while the others were to have their life sucked out of them. Jerem encountered the group and killed the cult members, used mental care on the prisoners, and freed the remaining ones. The building was destroyed, but unfortunately, the already deceased individuals could not be saved. Mukshil was filled with anger upon seeing the corpses. Jerem informed him about the spread of a new variant and the increase in the number of believers. Mukshil suggested taking care of everything in one go. Jerem agreed, and a message popped up indicating that he could acquire the transformation skill to become a giant. In Naju City, at the Immortal Cult's temple, the monsters had gathered, and Myongo emerged from the group. Jerem's group arrived and quickly spotted Myongo. Myongo called upon their god and began to absorb the cult members. The god responded by promising Myongo immortality. Myongo transformed fully into a monster and thanked Jerem for provoking the ceremony, which would have taken another half-year to complete. He then requested to join the cult. However, Yuseo mocked him, stating that they would end up like the dead followers surrounding them. Myongo then revived the cult members and zombies, claiming that their deaths were only temporary. The resurrected monsters worshipped their god, but the Gamers Union mocked them, infuriating Myongo, who then attacked the group. Jerem blocked Myongo's attack as he ordered the monsters to attack. The Hammer Gang and Raksha's robots engaged in a fierce battle, while Mukshil, Jerem, and Yuseo pressed forward and confronted Myongo. Myongo's attack released a deadly smoke, causing them to weaken. Mukshil's attack was blocked, and Jerem and Yuseo followed up with an attack on Myongo, while Mukshil landed a punch. They continued to barrage Myongo with attacks, leaving him injured, but his injuries were instantly regenerated. Mukshil informed Jerem that Myongo had grown stronger. Myongo laughed and confirmed this, stating that the longer he stood, the stronger he became, while they grew weaker in the smoke of death. Myongo summoned additional monsters, but Jerem responded by activating his skills, combining Joseon Heavenly Demon Martial Arts with Reiner to create the Royal Physique skill. He intended to test Myongo's supposed immortality before activating the giant transformation. Myongo was surprised that the skill was similar to Mukshil's and found it impossible that they were using the same skill. Jerem then landed multiple attacks on Myongo, who attempted to retaliate but was easily blocked by Jerem. As he mocked Myongo, Jerem attacked, pushing him back. Myongo was confused as to why Jerem was not affected by the smoke of death. The monsters then surrounded Myongo, attempting to protect him, but Mukshil destroyed them. They soon realized that the monsters were resurrecting into smaller ones. Yuseo then used the Joseon Reiner to kill the resurrected monsters and instructed Jerem to deal with Myongo. Jerem was attacked by Myongo, which covered him in the breath of death and was transported where he encountered the owner of the cell. Despite using his explosion skill, the owner was unaffected and restrained Jerem, draining his life force. However, Jerem's royal physique resisted the attack and an apparition named Yin Jao appeared behind him and attacked, injuring the monster. A message appeared indicating that Jerem's Joseon Heavenly Demon Martial Arts had reached its maximum limit. Meanwhile, Myongo celebrated his apparent victory over Jerem's group and captured Himchin, attempting to force him to join the immortal cult. Jerem arrived and cut off Myongo's hand to save Himchin. Myongo's injuries did not heal, and Jerem used a skill he had seen earlier to destroy Myongo's body, causing the monsters in the area to lose their power. As Myongo prayed to his god, a message appeared that a high priest had descended. Jerem sensed the threat, and Myongo laughed as he felt his god's presence. Jerem informed Yuseo about the high priest's appearance, and she asked if he could defeat it. Jerem assumed it was not a real god, but still powerful. A message appeared stating that the entity could not perform full activity in this timeline, and chains appeared, binding its energy as it cursed the system. Another message indicated that the adjustment had been made, causing Myongo's body to fall as it was occupied by the entity. Jerem used analysis to confirm that it was the high priest, who stood up and invited Jerem to join his family. The high priest recognized Jerem's potential and proposed that they join forces to effect significant change. However, Jerem rejected the idea, calling the high priest a monster. Undeterred, the high priest suggested that they unite to seek revenge against the person who had destroyed their homes. He then recounted how his own planet, Camelin, had once been a thriving civilization thanks to the humans' ability to wield mana. But one day, zombies had appeared and the invaders had used them to devastate the planet. The high priest, who had been the deity of the empire, Esteros, had been defeated and turned into a loyal soldier of the invaders. He now sought to become stronger and exact his revenge. When Jerem expressed skepticism, Esteros explained that he planned to escape his current body by destroying the planet. Yuseo pointed out that this would mean the end for everyone living on the planet. Esteros reassured them that he could protect them and urged them to make the right choice to avoid their impending doom. Despite his words, Jerem refused his offer. In response, Esteros accused Jerem of being too caught up in the system. Jerem disagreed, stating that it was a better choice than Esteros' proposal. Suddenly, Esteros revealed his true form and threatened Jerem. In response, Jerem and his group prepared for battle, while the Hammer Gang launched an artillery attack on Esteros. However, Esteros was powerful enough to split the earth, causing people to fall into the deep. Fortunately, Wilson and Raksha's robots managed to save them. Nevertheless, Esteros launched another attack, incapacitating Dupal and overwhelming the rest of the group with his immense power. Upon seeing the magic circle, Jerem utilized his mastery of perfect martial arts to destroy it, causing Esteros to immediately feel weakened. Recognizing Jerem's power, Esteros engaged in battle, but Jerem pushed him back, allowing the others to attack and barrage him with their own assaults. Eventually, Jerem landed a decisive blow, defeating Esteros, who warned Jerem that he would meet him in Seoul before being destroyed. As a reward for his role in defeating Esteros, a message appeared, granting Jerem the special skill Extortion, which enabled him to acquire a skill from a defeated opponent. Raksha, fearing that Jerem would be tempted to join Esteros, rushed to his side. After confirming the safety of his allies, Jerem set their sights on Jeju Island as their next destination. Wonwook and Admiral Kim Nak-soo paid Jerem a visit, revealing to him that the admiral was an awakener. They informed Jerem that Jeju Island was now unclaimed and credited his group for their actions. Wonwook explained that the government had panicked after discovering the danger posed to the cult during Jerem's invasion of Jeolladu. They had attempted to send troops to protect the cult, but suddenly the officials' life force was drained. Wonwook took this opportunity to dispose of them and told Jerem that all those who had taken the drug from the immortal cult had died. Despite the disaster caused by government officials obsessed with the cult, the people who hadn't been tricked were able to restore Jeju, though it was still in a bad condition. Wonwook expressed his gratitude to Jerem, as his actions had made this possible. The admiral then asked for Jerem's permission to relocate the residents of Jeju to the Union, offering their skills to him in exchange. Jerem agreed. Jerem was content with his new awakeners and warmly welcomed them into the Union. As a result, he acquired two powerful skills: clairvoyance and commanding. With the assistance of Admiral Kim, they easily entered Jeju and successfully transported the survivors to safety. After 2 weeks, Jerem observed the troops' training and was impressed by the effectiveness of the commanding skill, which he praised the admiral for. Using his newly acquired clairvoyant skill, Jerem could monitor the Gamers Union from afar and even overhear their conversations. He likened his new abilities to that of a satellite, which reassured Yuseo that not everyone in the government was under the cult's control. They then discussed the moving fortress project, but Yuseo was doubtful. Jerem assured her that an AI could operate it, and Raksha arrived to inform him that she had completed the first draft of the AI. They made their way to the laboratory where Raksha and Wilson presented their work on the fortress AI, Wilson 2. Raksha then registered Jerem as the top command authority in the system, granting him the power to oversee everything happening in the city. Wilson demonstrated the system's capabilities by informing Jerem that he could access any location in the city simply by thinking of it. Jerem put it to the test and transported to the market district, where he was able to manipulate the lights, electricity, and defense systems. Wilson then updated him on the progress of the fortress, which was currently at 60%. They then checked on the team that is building the fortress's legs. Jerem was satisfied. Meanwhile, Esteros called one of his knights named Caesar and showed him Jerem. Esteros gave Caesar the power to ignore the rules and help him, and ordered him to destroy Jerem's base completely. Caesar wore golden armor and got ready to hunt for Jerem. Later, Wonwook told Jerem that a large group of zombies were moving towards them and their number might be 1 million. Jerem was worried because they needed 1 more week to finish building their mobile fortress. Wonwook suggested 2 choices: leave the place or fight the zombies. Jerem said they couldn't leave because rebuilding the base would take too much time. He asked Wonwook to seek help from the gamer, but Mukjul arrived and said he already brought all his men. Jerem thanked him and said everyone should prepare to fight because they had no other option. The admiral briefed everyone on the situation, that 1 million zombies are heading toward them. Surprising Youngchun and Rasha. Jerem reassured them that they had become stronger. Mukjul asked how many people they had, and the admiral said they had 3,000 guards in their union, plus 1,000 more from the Gamers Union, for a total of 4,000. Jerem said they needed to hold on for 1 more week until their moving fortress was finished. Sebastian said that a skeleton commander was leading the zombie army, according to their spies. The admiral said they needed more people to hold off the zombies for a week, estimated at 30,000, and suggested they assign as many people as possible. Jerem said they should take in volunteers. He then asked Nay to gather people in the square and told them that 1 million zombies were attacking and they only had 4,000 guards. Even if everyone fought, they would be overwhelmed by the large number of mutants, causing panic among the people. Jerem asked if they wanted to run away, but it was too late because they were already surrounded. Jerem spoke again, warning the people that their lives were in danger. Some of them began to blame him, but he interrupted and reminded them of the loved ones they had lost due to the monster's appearance. Now, those same monsters were trying to destroy their safe place. Jerem asked them what they would do if the place was destroyed, where would they go? He said he and their troops would fight until the end. Hearing this, the people began to volunteer, one by one, arming themselves for the upcoming battle. The admiral was surprised and estimated that at least 100,000 people had volunteered, seeing a glimmer of hope. They spotted the monsters arriving, and Jerem ordered everyone to prepare for battle. Caesar ordered to attack and the monsters rushed toward the city, but the artillery demolished them. The mutants reached the walls and tried to destroy them, but Youngchun held them back while Jerem confused them. The Awakeners then came and killed the mutants. Jerem summoned her golem and boosted the soldiers, then froze the flying monsters that attacked her, causing them to fall to the ground. Jerem arrived and saved her when two giant snakes tried to attack her. They joined the battle while the normal people threw rocks at the zombies. Caesar was informed that the First Corps was having difficulty holding out, so he ordered them to start attacking in turns and get rid of the fort's defenses. On the third day of defense, the monsters were still attacking relentlessly and the troops were running out of ammunition. Jerem knew that they had held out this long because of the fortress, but the walls were being destroyed too quickly, even with Youngchun doing repairs. Jerem was thankful that the people's fighting spirit was still alive. The admiral informed him that additional survivors were added to the construction, which reduced the completion time significantly. Suddenly, a green zombie appeared and approached the walls. Jerem ordered the immediate elimination of the green monster. The other zombies tried to protect it, but it suddenly exploded, melting the surrounding zombies. Jerem then ordered the killing of the green zombie first. Reports then started coming in that the walls were taking damage from the green monsters. He understood that the enemy had weakened and exhausted them before sending the green monster. Youngchun then said that he was running out of mana, so Jerem ordered the civilians to retreat underground. The admiral asked Jerem if he wants to stay underground, but Jerem said no, because the acid monster could melt the ground and trap them. So, they decided to attack Caesar to stop the zombies from advancing and leave through the gates. Jerem quickly headed toward the zombie horde. Caesar was surprised to hear that Jerem and his group were directly fighting against them. The Hammer Gang charged forward, cutting through the zombies, while Jerem destroyed the ones in front of him. Mukshil, Jerem and Ysil did the same, while the troops fought against the zombies. Caesar realized that his army was losing and felt Jerem coming for him. He thought that Jerem was becoming more powerful than immortal. Caesar then offered the Awakeners a chance to join him and abandon the others, but everyone refused. This reminded Caesar of himself when he was a knight. They were struggling against the zombies, and Esteros offered them salvation and to leave the other humans. They refused, but they are helpless against Esteros. He then told Jerem that fighting only lasts momentarily. Jerem replied that humans must keep on fighting to live and rallied the others. Caesar ordered to kill everyone and he created a barrier enclosing him and Jerem. Caesar then told Jerem to watch as his comrades die. He then summoned his horse and attacked, but Jerem blocked with difficulty as the horse was also attacking him. As Caesar launched another attack, he managed to knock Jerem to the ground while his horse attempted to stomp on him. Jerem dodged the horse's attacks but was quickly overpowered by Caesar's assault. Seizing the opportunity, Caesar taunted Jerem and boasted about the struggles of the Union. Recognizing the need to weaken Caesar's power, Jerem turned his attention to the horse and struck it, but Caesar retaliated immediately. Jerem realized that Caesar was not attempting to kill him, but rather to recruit him as a henchman. In response, Jerem enveloped himself in the king's aura and unleashed a flurry of attacks, managing to defeat Caesar's mount with difficulty. To Jerem's relief, his recovery ability kicked in and replenished his stamina. Caesar then attacked, but Jerem was able to block his blows. Caesar taunted Jerem, claiming that he could not match his experience and technique, but Jerem laughed in response. Caesar soon realized that Jerem had managed to launch a counterattack in that brief moment. Jerem's confidence soared as he noticed a decrease in Caesar's strength after defeating his mount. Caesar, however, ridiculed Jerem's overconfidence and launched another attack, but Jerem was able to block it and began to sense Caesar's attack patterns. Spotting an opportunity, Jerem struck with the explosive skill and continued his assault. Caesar seized an opening and attacked, but it was a trap and Jerem reappeared behind him, landing a devastating blow. Witnessing Jerem's growth, Caesar realized he was in trouble if the fight continued. Acknowledging his earlier underestimation of Jerem, Caesar readied an attack with the intention of finishing him off in one blow. As the attack descended upon him, Jerem unleashed a counterstrike that obliterated it. The fierce battle continued and Dupel struggled as his robot was destroyed, leaving Mukshil surrounded. Suddenly, the barrier shattered and Caesar fell to the ground, defeated. Jerem realized that without his recovery skill, he would have lost the fight. Seizing the opportunity, Jerem picked up the magic stone from Caesar and used it to enhance his transmission skill, boosting his strength. Upon Caesar's demise, the monsters became disoriented, prompting Jerem to devise a plan to lure the zombies away and order a retreat. He assured the group that he would return in 2 days once the fortress was constructed. Jerem rushed ahead, decimating the zombies with ease. Though hesitant to leave Jerem behind, the group ultimately placed their trust in him and retreated. 2 days later, Jerem received a message that the fortress had been completed and he was awestruck by the sight of the mobile fortress. Wilson and Rasha proceeded to demonstrate the fortress's attacking power by annihilating the surrounding zombies and incinerating the monsters clinging to the fortress. Jerem felt a sense of satisfaction that their investment had paid off. Rasha then provided him with a briefing on the fortress's capabilities, while Wilson inquired about their next move. The quest appeared, indicating that Esterosa was currently weakened following a series of setbacks and that the time was ripe to attack him and occupy Seoul to further weaken his position. Jerem concurred with the quest's message and called for a meeting, during which he revealed their plan to advance towards Seoul. He explained that they had been given an opportunity to strike while Esterosa was vulnerable. The group readily agreed to join Jerem in heading to Seoul and seizing the advantage. Upon arriving in Seoul with the mobile fortress, they prepared for battle. Like and subscribe if you want me to continue the next chapters, and thank you for watching.